So are we surfing towards a new era of prosperity and Americana worldwide, or are we surfing towards the apocalypse and thermonuclear war triggered by the crisis on the Korean Peninsula? I'm your host, Alex Jones. We're going to be live here for the next 4 hours. Paul Watson joins us at the bottom of the hour. He's launching a big global initiative that we're going to break here in just about 30 minutes from now. I'm going to leave it at that. Also, I'm in hundreds of headlines, just as we've already told everybody, but it's now confirmed in more documents, that the #1 enemy of Google, the archetype that they basically chant against, is Alex Jones. We already have undercover recordings. We already have congressional hearings where Google execs, Twitter and Facebook people are like, we were stopping InfoWars and Paul Watson at lunch. They're like, we want him shut down. We want InfoWars stopped. Sir, we were on it during lunch. It's like villains out of a cheesy cartoon or a James Bond movie. Like, I want James Bond stopped. Well, sir, we were working on it just before we came back in here. We're trying as best we can. And why? Because we've got their number. Not trying to make it about me. We're at the center of this because we're the archetype of the individual and what they don't like. There it is, out of New York Magazine, The Hill. Alex Jones was reportedly banned from Google, and other things we learned from James Damore's class action suit. It's more than that. They have like drills, and it's in the computers, and they drill fearing Jones is coming. And later I learned that from some of our sources when we got documents that Google's totally obsessed with us, and it hired a company, millions of dollars, to go downvote my name, my products. When Google got caught, they said, oh, it's an accident. We're going to stop doing that. Why are they scared? Because they're building an AI world to dehumanize us. They're building a system, and they want to start with their employees where you could be anything but heterosexual or white. The worst thing is a woman who has babies. And they actually call white men into the rooms, and the other white men in charge have everyone chant, oh, bad white people, bad white people. And they have the documents. But here's the deal. You want to create a thing that's anti-human. This is all anti-human. They play us off against each other. The story's up on Infowars.com. It is in the documents that high-level Google execs come in and announce that they are golden dragons or dragonettes, like a female dragon, and that they are also a beautiful, ornate building, an expansive, ornate building. And you say, well, that sounds insane. Like, let's pay for a woman to dump bleach in her eyes because she identifies as blind, and then taxpayers pay for it. It starts with sex changes. Oh, you don't like me if you don't accept my sex change. Hey, cut your genitals off. It's a free world. I'm a libertarian. I'm not paying for your nose job. I'm not paying for you to have a lizard tail added on. I'm not paying for your body modification. I'm not criticizing it. Some body modification is quite nice. The point is that you can do what you want. But then saying, I've got to pay for it, what they're saying is I'm transphobic. And they started with humans, men going to women, women going to men, and now it's, well, identify as a beautiful ornate building or as a golden female dragon. So this is a cult. It's not even insane people. They're teaching insanity as a program, and they know I've got their number, and if people listen to me, it's over. Now, that's only the tip of the iceberg. Paul Watson's coming up on that. Incredible. Trump, it's now been announced, is planning to go to Davos to face the globalists down at point-blank range, face-to-face. So we are sending crew to Davos. We won't obviously pay the $100,000 to get in. Or maybe we should and let them refuse us. You know what? Maybe I should go to Davos. You know, I hardly ever put myself in the field these days because I do so much more in the digital command base. But we're going to Davos. That's happening. Trump is cheered at the championship college game between Georgia and Alabama. Cheered. But then they focus on individuals saying F him and a few booing and say, Trump was booed, Trump is hated, Trump's a failure, the economy's imploding. And, so that's all coming up as well. A jam-packed transmission. Please share all the different live links. Well, this is going to be a momentous transmission as we accelerate towards the singularity. Not the singularity that the globalists have envisioned, but the true singularity. Oneness with the mind of God. The planets align, and more happens in a day than happened in the previous week. And then more happens in a month than happened in the previous 5 years. And then more happens in the next year than happened in the previous 50. And then more happens in the next year than happened in the previous 100. And then 1,000. And then 10,000. This is the great acceleration. And there's going to be horrible things that are going to happen. There's going to be incredibly good things that happen. It's going to be mind-blowing. So strap yourselves in, ladies and gentlemen. Reality is the real trip. Reality is the real excitement. Reality is the real show, and each of us are not spectators, but we are on the field. I disagree with William Shakespeare. The whole world is a stage, each of us players upon it. That is only a shadow of reality. The world is reality, and each of us are farmers and fathers and mothers and builders and strivers and trailblazers and warriors and lovers and children and old and young in the compendium of the great experiences of our species, and are part of a great genetic connection of the past into the future. But of course, for people that are all about fake it until you make it, the world is a stage and each of us players upon it. It's a true statement within its limited context, but not within the great compendium of the space-time continuum. Now, here's what's coming up. Trump to face down the globalists face-to-face in Davos. And it's very strange that just recently I've been invited by journalists and others to go to Davos. So, again, the planets are aligning on that. We've also got Trump being absolutely 95% cheered at the big football game, the college championship between Georgia and Alabama. And so the corporate lying press spun the whole thing and said that he was booed, and then zoomed in on small crowds protesting him, and one football player saying F Trump. So we've got that situation. The article's up on Infowars.com and Newswars.com. We've also got Bannon Group shopped anti-Trump document. But as soon as they saw that Trump was going to win, Bannon jumped on the bandwagon. I remember Breitbart was anti-Trump until about 8 months before the election, and suddenly completely jumped on board. And you know what, I just said, fine. You were Cruz people, and I like Cruz too, until he really engaged in dirty tricks, something I didn't see Trump do. Sometimes the high road's the dirtiest trick. I mean, it just, compared to people that think, you know, dirty's powerful. I mean, I guess from their perspective. But, you know, it's the sneaky, overhanded tactic, but not underhanded tactic. But Bannon Group shopped anti-Trump document. Incredible video on Infowars.com. A fat SJW walks into a gun store. Hilarity ensues. Comes in and says, you're a Nazi. You're a criminal. What are these Bibles? Starts throwing them around the store because the guy gives people Bibles. And he says, can I have them? He goes, yeah, if you're going to give them to people. He grabs a bunch, comes out, throws them up against the windows, cracking one of the windows, starts throwing them on the roof, flipping out. I think it's a guy. It identifies as a woman. Runs around and throws a Fed outside, and the police come and don't even arrest him. And the owner doesn't even want him arrested, just says, whatever. This is really a poor, distraught person. But they see a Gadsden flag and a colonial flag. The original 13. And just America is triggering. And this is a person that guaranteed's been in mama's basement. Guaranteed is just totally a victim of what the Facebook documents admit is a systematically imprisoned person. And they're actually been so scared by Trump coming in and feeling like their little cocoon's being damaged when it's actually people trying to break through like they're trapped in a car. We're coming, we're trying to get you. They're like, no, the demons are going to get me. Here, the economy's imploding, and we're going to get the jobs back, and we're really trying to sustain the family, and we're trying to get you out. They're like, no, you're evil. I mean, it's the same thing. You're like trapped under ice. We're trying to hack through it to get to you. You're falling down a well. We're trying to get to you. You're like knocking the ropes out of your hand. Get away to the firefighters. No. The firefighters have American flags on their shoulders. I mean, you watch the video, it is mental illness on display. So people laugh at it, but this, in a way, this is a good thing. This person has come out of their cocoon. They feel so threatened to go out and meet the Nazis. And they meet a mild-mannered, well-spoken, loving person who's tried to give them Bibles, and the person is screeching, I'm going to burn them. I'm going to throw them in the trash. So flipped out that a fellow citizen can have guns. This is a cult. A very, very sad cult at that. And you go to a college campus or you go to a high school, and about half the young people look like zombies that can't even hardly walk. And they've all got cell phones up their face while they walk around. They're stumbling over, they're falling down. And they just know how to go racist, bad, evil, homophobe, bigot. That's their entire language, is just bitching and griping like obese, mentally ill baby birds on hallucinogens. Howling, screaming, yelling like body snatchers. And then they'll see you and have no compulsion to run over as a throng and begin clawing and slapping, and then they'll fall down. Remember the abortion demonstration? When we went out to say all lives matter, Black lives matter, the majority of black people are aborted. So we're out there saying the KKK supports abortion, and here show up people in full black, white and black and Hispanic, zombie-like skin, all of them super pale, even though black people are like white. And they all weren't trying to act like zombies. They were like Frankenstein going, ooh, devil and Satan power, and falling over, and then like stumbling and like running over to a guy in crutches and attacking him, and just, we're killing babies inside. We love Lucifer. We stink. We kill our babies. The females will fall. The female spirit will fall. And I'm not kidding. You can go watch it. And then we got them at the Capitol and everywhere else. And like, we kill our kids. We love Lucifer. You'll never stop our high priestess inside killing the babies. And you're like, what is up? These are literally people that have jacked into something evil. I mean, they're gone. It's not fake. It's not acting. It's real. Because we've gone undercover in these groups, and they are just like lunatics. The modern world, TV, smartphones, the culture, the dyes, the estrogen mimickers, the serotonin reuptake inhibitors they're on, the illegal drugs they're taking, they are whacked out of their head. And just like the Bible said, you take pharmakia, you take strong drugs, you open yourself up to evil to come in. It's a fact. It's not just some mental illness that's in all of us that gets activated. Something else comes and imposes itself. And it's what you think of in lore of like goblins or demons or gremlins. They're people, but they'll run over chirping. They don't go to school for this. We're showing video of it right now. You'll hear, was the noise he made. And I was like, what in the world? He's like, and then just, I am ugly. You're like, what is going on? You've got a demon right in front of you, angry that you don't want total death. Because they don't want freedom. You can offer them money to come on the show. You can even try to be nice to them, and they go, they don't want success, folks. They don't want anything. They want to grovel in their own spiritual feces. They want to writhe around like snakes. Now, I'm done talking about that. Paul Watts is coming up with huge breaking news in about 15 minutes. When we return, the proof of fake news again. This should be in the Fake News Awards coming up the 17th. The president's going to host. Isn't that luscious? He gets these huge standing ovations and cheered. The media shows small group booing. There is so much to cover, so much breaking behind the scenes. I was late getting back in the studio here. Joe Arpaio is running for the Senate in Arizona. We'll definitely support that. Roman Polanski, who Hollywood just loves, won't face a 75 child molest charge. An L.A. prosecutor cites expired statute of limitations. So I guess they're saying Polanski can come back for the admitted rape of a 13-year-old girl that the great feminist Meryl Streep thinks is wonderful. So that's coming up. And then we've got Ivanka Trump praises Oprah Winfrey's Golden Globe speech in a tweet. I'm not going to attack Ivanka. Maybe she's trying reverse psychology or something on a speech that and said her father was a horrible person, basically, and that was racist and bad, attacking women. I don't know how you think that curries favor with these people. They're going to give you no quarter. But, again, that's why we've got your father, I guess. Oh, she put out happy holidays, too. Hey, can't we just have our Christmas? It's ours. You can have your holidays, and we think they're fun and cool. Well, I'm in another country, and they've got a festival. I go take part in it, and it's neat. I don't show up in some other country and go, I don't have this festival in my country. I'm offended by this. But side issue. Let's get into the big meat and potatoes here. Alabama yells F to Trump. One of the players does. Georgia versus Alabama. That's the scale of the protest. There was a protest outside booing the president, a few little knots of people that got in for publicity stunts at the National College Championship. And so the media then began to spin it all over the news that Trump was booed at the game. They also spun it that, oh, Trump is on vacation all the time. He said he wouldn't go on vacation all the time like Obama. And they say he has this executive time until 11 in the morning, and that all of that is spent watching television because a few tweets of him watching live TV have gone out. So because there's a few tweets that go out a week of him watching something live, that means during that 3 hours every day of executive time, he's only watching television. When I've talked to people that are in the White House, and I've heard about what the president does, and I've experienced it myself, he gets up at about 7 in the morning, spends about an hour to himself, goes in, eats breakfast, watches television, then gets briefings, then reads a bunch of documents, and then in between things, he will turn the audio back on, unmute the television, and watch a section, see what they're saying, and then multitask. And he does that as a way to be able to work up to 18 hours a day. He cycles through it. He also has them bring him stacks of news and what he calls the clips on an iPad. And they would come in and show him viral videos or what the internet was saying or what his fans were saying. He calls them the clips. Every time I've talked to him, he's like, I really like watching you in the clips. You know, you're going to be the next Rush Limbaugh. Boy, I wish they had more stuff like you cover on mainstream TV, but I like you in the clips. He's a 71-year-old guy. He calls it the clips. And he does, as I told people before it was even known, he reads the New York Times constantly and watches CNN quite a bit. People are like, oh, yeah, Jones claims, you can pull these articles up like a year ago, the president reads the New York Times. Well, he does, and now it's confirmed. That's one of the main things he reads. Because I know a lot of people in the White House before and since, and I know what the president's up to and what he's doing. When he's at Mar-a-Lago, or he's in New Jersey, or he's at Trump Tower, he is working until 2:30 in the morning many nights. Then he goes to bed for 4 or 5 hours. And he is on the phone calling people at midnight. I knew about this and once was even able to get through. I couldn't believe it. Roger said, yeah, you know, he calls me sometimes, but you really should call this hotline number that's just a general switchboard, but Trump is on it. And the media knew about it. They were able to call him. So you could call 10, 15, 20 times, and that didn't work. Tried a couple nights, the president answers. Well, they shut that down because he would do that at Trump Tower, too, on the switchboard. He just loves to surprise people and hear what they really say. Because he just loves crowds. He loves people. He loves interfacing. Look what he's done at Mar-a-Lago. And everything they've done is try to isolate him, even at Mar-a-Lago, putting up fences and stuff where he eats so that people can't come talk to him. He still busts out and goes and talks to them. So the guy's always working. And look at the results in the economy. So they're trying to play clips of him saying, I won't vacation nearly as much. He doesn't. Yeah, George W. Bush went to work at 6:45 in the morning, and he also got off at about 3 and exercised twice during the day. Obama came in at 10, but would exercise a couple times and then go play basketball or go watch a movie and screw off. I mean, Obama and Bush were very, very lazy. Bush Sr. wasn't. He worked about 12 hours a day. Bill Clinton, in between partying, he worked a lot. But the point is, Hillary was so power hungry, nobody works as much as she does for her. But those are the facts. But with Trump, we get a good economy. We get more jobs. We get rising standard of living. We get a record stock market. We get all the things he said, tax cuts, what he said he did, killing TPP. But that's why they're pushing this new thing that he's lazy. He's not just mentally ill. He's not just racist, but he's lazy. So let's start getting to this right now. Trump cheered at college football national championship game. Some news reported the truth, but the rest of it would just show pockets of people protesting or booing, or show one football player booing to make it look like overall everybody hates Trump. Here it is.
Welcome, members of the ROTC units from the University of Georgia and the University of Alabama, joined by our President, Donald J. Trump.
That's called cheering, not booing. But CNN and others would cut that into people booing outside the motorcade 30 minutes before to create the illusion that he was being booed and then dub it over. We've got those clips. We're going to break here, though. The cheering just goes on and on. In the interest of time, let's stop as it goes on for another 5 minutes. I mean, standing ovation. This is CNN, though. Fans at championship game have mixed reaction to Trump's motorcade. So small group protesting, it gets more attention than 100-something thousand fans cheering. Here it is. It's like about 100 people booing. Not even all of them are booing. So that's this on CNN. This is what they show. A mixed group of 100 people booing, and then this is the mixed reaction. Maybe 200 people. So a crowd of about 200 booing, and that is what CNN aired. They call that a mixed reaction. They show the one of booing and their little setup, George Soros, MoveOn.org, Antifa, you know, meth head, heroin head, devil worshiper rally, literally. I mean, that's who they are. Go to one of them. And then they just, you know, don't even show you what hundreds of thousands did. That's deception. Ladies and gentlemen, we are back live. I am your host, Alex Jones. And joining us from London, England, is the editor of Infowars.com and PrisonPlanet.com. He also writes for NewsWars.com, Paul Joseph Watson. Now, there's two-pronged issues that we're going to be talking about here. They're totally critical. I'm not Hunter S. Thompson. I'm not going out to write gonzo journalism, a lot of it really hilarious and interesting, about myself. I'm here to try to reboot nationalism and Renaissance and true classical liberalism worldwide. And I'm here analyzing the globalist technotronic plan for a technocracy. That said, though, we have multiple congressional hearings this year and last year. We have an Armed Services Committee, National Security Committee, Judiciary Committees, where they say Alex Jones and Paul Joseph Watson are the #1 enemy, and they brag about censoring us, Google, Facebook, and Twitter, in front of Congress, and they said, we just censored Paul Watson at lunch. And the congressman goes, good, be quicker next time, because Paul had the #1 story on Twitter. Now, we knew from internal Google documents that Google, and that it was real, they hired millions of dollars worth of people to put out that I'm banned from Google campuses, but also that I am banned basically on the internet with a stealth ban, InfoWars, you name it. And we've seen that. And then we have YouTube executives saying, oh, we work with the New York Times to censor Alex Jones. The New York Times even advises us on what to censor. And we know in the WikiLeaks that Hillary would then advise the New York Times how to censor. So they kind of fence their censorship through that. It's incredible. So you'd think that, you know, we'd really be honored by this. But in this age of censorship, folks go, okay, big deal, you're being censored. Well, now we learn, New York Daily News, Alex Jones was reportedly banned from Google, and other things we learned from James Damore's class action lawsuit, and he's put documents attached to it showing this, but it gets worse. White males are booed at company events and told they're evil, with white males leading the minorities in it, and they get in trouble if you say it's bizarre to have executives at speeches describe themselves as female golden dragons, dragonettes, and expansive ornate buildings. I'm not kidding. Fox News is even reporting this. And you think, well, this is mental illness. No, it's transhumanism. They're training everyone that we're going to overthrow society, and the only thing that you're not allowed to be is a white male, a woman who is heterosexual, who wants to baby. Again, humans. Continuing on. It's not tolerance. It is a AI program to end humans, and it's a disease being put out and set up in the name of tolerance. Camille Paglia agrees with that as well. Calls it child abuse, what's going on. This, oh, first, if you're a girl, you can be a boy, or a boy be a girl. So Paul Watson's going to cover this segment, and then he's got a big exclusive breaking in the next segment that just went live on Infowars.com. We're going to tell you about that coming up. This is so big. If you get involved in this, this is going to absolutely devastate the globalists with another one of their key operatives. And yes, the media got it right yesterday in hundreds of publications when they said Jones is preemptively striking Oprah, the eugenicist Winfrey. They said it's racist that I said that she's funding black depopulation. Well, I mean, she is. It's incredible. It's like saying it's racist to say Harvey Weinstein was a Nazi collaborator. But joining us, Paul Joseph Watson. It's not a heady thing to have them attacking us in Congress and wanting a shutdown. Now the left says just shut us down, have us arrested. It lets us know just how dangerous these folks are, but thank God for people like Mr. DeMoore and others who are speaking out against this. Let's tackle this first. Paul Joseph Watson.
Well, yeah, we can go back to that congressional hearing, which you mentioned earlier, Alex. This was in early November. It was after the vehicle attack, the truck attack in New York by a member of the Religion of Peace, which, of course, the initial concern after that was, you know, Islamophobic tweets, as it is after every single terrorist attack where people get mowed down and murdered. But they had a House Intelligence Committee hearing into Russian involvement in the 2016 presidential election. A few days later, this rep, Mike Quigley, Democrat, gets up and basically starts complaining to this Google executive about why an InfoWars story about New York Mayor Mike de Blasio ignoring warnings from an imam about terrorist radicalization in New York appeared at the top of the hashtag NYC terrorist attack during the vehicle attack. He basically said, how dare you allow this to trend at the top? Well, it trended because it was an interesting story and because it was a true story. It was not fake news. Was there a letter from an imam that was sent to Mayor Mike de Blasio before this attack warning about radicalization of terrorists in New York City? Yes, there was. Imam Tawhidi, who is a prominent Muslim on Twitter, anti-radical Muslim, posted the letter that he sent to Mike Blasio. Okay, so it's not fake news. On the very face of it, it's not fake news. So then they basically said, yeah, that was top and trending, but we took it down quickly and we'll make sure it won't happen ever again. So we had that actual congressional conversations about them directly censoring InfoWars because we're peddling fake news, even though it's verifiably, provably not fake news. In fact, after that, Alex, the New York Times contacted me for comment about another issue, which was very similar, which happened after the Texas church massacre back again at the beginning of November, where I was simply taking segments from the shooter's LinkedIn profile confirmed and putting them out on Twitter. Again, completely verifiable, completely fair, legitimate news coverage content as a breaking news event was happening. And then, of course, Google freaked out. The left freaked out. They got them to censor us again. They got Google to take that down from their top search results when people were searching for information about that attack. So the New York Times reaches out to me and they're like, what strategy do you use to get to the top of Twitter? How do you do it? What's your secret? And I respond, I just said, there's no secret. I'm covering breaking news with real information. I'm just doing it before anyone else does. And that's what really hurts them because, you know, they're losing control of the narrative. And that's the whole point, Alex. You know, after Brexit, after Trump, they came out with this phrase, which was, oh, the post-truth world. Oh, it's so frightening that other people with independent media platforms are actually able to challenge our narrative. And it's because, you know, they're losing debates, they're losing national referendums, they're losing elections. So then they had to come out with this post-truth world nonsense, which in reality means, oh, damn, we're losing control of the narrative. What are we going to do? They had to come out with this fake news nonsense, which was completely debunked, actually, by a Stanford University study, which found that fake news had no impact on the election. It's all complete baloney because they're so paranoid about losing control, losing their monopoly over information and over the power to manipulate people.
That's right. And now, Paul, what are they going to do when Trump coming up in 8 days has his fake news awards and totally takes the narrative away and hangs the crown on CNN and MSNBC with this latest thing saying Trump got booed and showing a couple hundred people outside, and then inside, 70,000+ standing ovation for like 3 or 4 minutes, and they just say, oh, he was booed or it was a mixed bag. I mean, it's next level. I want to talk about that briefly, but also then the big news coming up. What do you make about Google making them identify employees as golden dragons? And I thought only the lunatics at the KKK made you do that.
Well, I mean, this whole lawsuit, James Damore lawsuit, proves, we've heard this line over and over again. Oh, it's impossible to be racist against white people because they have institutionalized power. Well, this is one of the biggest corporations in America and the world, encouraging its employees to discriminate against, mistreat, and literally boo white people. So how about that for institutionalized power? And they're directing it against white people because of this wider social engineering message.
Now, the big news when we come back, and then we're going to dive back into what's the master plan by the social engineers to say that whites are inherently evil. This directed by white executives who are anti-human, admitted eugenicists, post-human exterminists. Why are they challenging the white men? Well, they admit they believe the West is the only threat to them. Now, why do the globalists fear us? Why do they have secret hearings, congressional hearings? Why do foreign leaders call me? Why does the president call me? Why do the U.S. intelligence agencies listen? It's come out in WikiLeaks. Foreign governments are obsessed with InfoWars. It's because we have the best guests, we have the best researchers, and we understand the globalist model, and we create a narrative based on real research, not a false narrative. Doesn't mean our narrative's perfect, but we create a narrative based in real geopolitical and historical and then also modern contexts. And we read high-level white papers from the Globalist and from other groups to understand the real thinking. It's how I knew they were worshiping AI gods and planned to make humans obsolete. They were writing this 20 years ago. Billionaires were saying, we're going to major meetings and the plan is to bring in machines, replace humans, and we're going to merge with machines and get rid of everybody. People go, you're nuts. And I made films and wrote books. And now Elon Musk comes out and says, red alert, the billionaires plan to get rid of everybody and merge with machines and become gods. The enemy are those that say worship AI gods. And he's working with the Pentagon. You got Trump, the Pentagon, InfoWars. We're just pro-human. We don't want the technocracy. We don't want to make you poor. We don't want to phase everybody out. We just aren't suicidal. We're not even perfect. But that's why we're so hated. Now, Oprah Winfrey has been promised that she's going to get extended life if she does this. So is Harvey Weinstein, all of them. And she's in the meetings. It's been leaked. It's been in the Associated Press that she's part of a worldwide depopulation group and heads up the Africa operations through her front group for Bill and Melinda Gates to reduce population. And I said, just like the Nazis, would have a minority face for areas they came in to take over, the globalists have her as the black face to fool black folks. I mean, that's a well-known tactic. It's called the Judas Code. The media said I was being racist against blacks because I don't want them exterminated. Okay. Or I don't want 52% of blacks to be aborted before they're ever born. They always cut things out of context, but people know who listen, okay? Now, Paul is launching this, and they fear us because we can say, lock her up, Hillary for prison. That becomes the deal. That's the deciding meme that takes down the Clintons with all of our concerted actions together. And they know in thousands of cases we've had game changers because of you. You're the game changer. We do the research. You do the research. We work together, the audience, our guest. We all come together as a college of ideas, the Human Defense League, the Pro-Human League. I think I'm going to start a foundation literally along those lines. It's got to be done. And just the Common Sense Human Survival League, just the Common Sense League. The league of do unto others as you have them do unto you. And if you do this that Paul has called for, we can fatally politically wound her. If you punch this out and get this out, it's over. And that means James Woods has got to help, and everybody else has got to help. Petition, Oprah must disavow Harvey Weinstein. We'll use their tactics on them. Why did Winfrey know, and when did she know it? Let's use her tactics when she gets up there in a 6-minute speech and says men are the problem, women come together. Hollywood's been abused, as if Hollywood is the thing not abusing us. So her inversion of reality is so arrogant, her fake acting, her fake crying. This woman is a monster manipulator, okay? She's the only black person ever allowed into the Cold Springs Harbor eugenics facilities with the Rockefellers and others. That's in the news. Okay, I mean, she is the only person allowed into the eugenics cult because she is a critical person to carry out the assault. So, that said, she's the ultimate Benedict Arnold. These are facts. I know truth stranger than fiction about AI gods and all of it, but it's all out in the open now. So listen to me and go research her. Paul Watson, you have the floor for the next 6.5 minutes. Break down your incredible idea that everyone must retweet, everyone must do videos, everyone must send to local radio stations, everyone must hammer, because she's going to be, if not the candidate, the weapon system against the American restoration in the next 2.5 years. Paul Joseph Watson.
Well, it's very simple, Alex. And the left uses this tactic against the right all the time. And in most cases, in most prominent cases at least, people on the right completely cave in. They apologize. They bow to the witch, to the mob, to the Twitchfork people. And it's simply a petition. People say, oh, people just ignore petitions. What's the point in that? Well, that's entirely the point. It's a petition demanding that Oprah Winfrey disavow her friend, Harvey Weinstein. Now, if she ignores the petition and it has 100, 200,000, 300,000 signatures, that's a pretty big deal. So the whole point is for her to ignore the petition, which she overwhelmingly likely will. If she does disavow him, then more power to her. We had an impact. But it's simply a petition. Listen, Alex, she got up there at the Golden Globes at an event organized, run, hosted by the Hollywood Foreign Press Association. This is a media organization, a collection of journalists that report on only Hollywood. What have they said about the sexual abuse scandal in Hollywood for the past 20 years? Nothing. Absolutely nothing whatsoever, despite the fact that everybody knew about it for the best part of the past 20 years. Remember, it was going to come out in 2004. New York Times, they spiked that story. This organization has known about it. You have people like Matt Damon, Ben Affleck, who knew about what he was doing to women in the 90s. This was like 2 decades nearly before Oprah Winfrey was hanging out with him. Close professional relationship. You've seen the pictures. She's literally nuzzling his ear in one case. There's a picture of her with the actress Katie and Noble when they met Weinstein at a 2014 event in London. Noble, who went on to file a lawsuit against Weinstein for basically raping her, said that Oprah was swinging off his arm in reference to Weinstein to lure her in with the promise of boosting her career. So you've got all this happening. You've got Oprah Winfrey rehabilitating Bill Clinton back in 2004 after everybody knew about his sexual predatory activity. You've got Oprah Winfrey endorsing Hillary Clinton after she intimidated Bill Clinton's rape victims. Oh, but now Oprah Winfrey's this big representative of the Me Too movement. You've got Meryl Streep sat back in the audience, and they showed a clip of her on Sunday night, nodding, yes, this is our movement now. Meryl Streep, the woman who stood up and applauded a pedophile rapist in Roman Polanski, 15 years after he was arrested, defended him. 5 years after that, defended him. Absolutely incredible. You've had a bunch of women come forward over the past 6 months with new accusations that Roman Polanski raped, abused them. What did Meryl Streep say about that? Nothing. So they all get up in front of each other. They all agree with each other. They're all responsible for covering up this sex abuse scandal for at least 20 years. Oh, but no, they're now the representatives of abused women. Absolutely sick, rampant hypocrisy. And now Oprah Winfrey is at the head of it, having palled around, nuzzled Harvey Weinstein, featured in innumerable photos with him at public events, at award ceremonies over the past 10, 15, 20
I mean, it's
years.
obvious they've got a relationship. It's obvious they've got a relationship, and she's known as being pretty wild. And that's all legal. Luring women in to a known rapist, that's a whole nother quantity, as you just said. She's actually sticking her tongue in his ear. And again, rebooting the whole Clinton dynasty repeatedly, exactly when they're known sexual predators. I mean, Oprah Winfrey is a monster. Please continue, Paul.
Well, you had Courtney Love back in 2005 saying, don't let Harvey Weinstein take you to a hotel room. You had Seth MacFarlane making jokes about it a few years ago at the Golden Globes, I think it was, basically on the basis that everybody knew he was a sexual predator. Scott Rosenberg, screenwriter, actor, and producer, whose first 2 films were distributed by Weinstein's company, Miramax. He said, quote, everybody effing knew about Weinstein's behavior in Hollywood. Yet she's palling around with him. Oh, but she knew absolutely nothing. I mean, how many photos does she have to appear with him in? I mean, I just did a Google images search, and it was just like 2 solid pages of it. It wasn't just one thing where, oh, I appeared in a photo with him. It's nothing. They're best buddies, got a professional relationship, worked together on projects. And then you get to the other aspect with Oprah Winfrey, Alex, which is when she said in a 2013 BBC interview, she thinks generations of older people, meaning white people, quote, just have to die to solve the problem of racism. Oh, so this is our big uniter, is it? The woman who says old white people need to die. Absolutely incredible. Sign this petition. If we get like 100,000 signatures, she will not disavow Weinstein. Then that's going to be a massive story. They hounded Trump for months. Will you disavow David Duke? No, you never even met David Duke, but they just kept throwing it at him for months. Will the media cover this? How many signatures can we get on this petition, which is up right now at Infowars.com?
That's right. Petition. Oprah must disavow Harvey Weinstein. It goes over all the key points of what a monster she is. Truly duplicitous. Just like we saw George Soros lead fellow Jews to the Nazis and help steal their money. Oprah is helping lead black people and others into globalism, into communism. In between the time she's luring women into Weinstein and sticking her filthy tongue in his filthy, stinking, dirty ears. And so you want to fight, you better believe you got one, witch. Everybody, retweet it from @PrisonPlanet. That's Paul Watson and Real Alex Jones. Get this out, make it #1, jam it down their throat. Welcome back. I'm Alex Jones. Joining us is Paul Watson from Her Britannic Majesty's England. Paul, I wanted to get back into, in the 5 minutes we have left with you, any other tidbits you want to hit on, where the battle with fake news is going. But first, ask the question, do you agree with me that the main reason they hate us is we've got their number? We read the source documents, and so many times what we break, we don't ever get credit for, but ends up being big national news stories. We've proven over and over again we can get around their Berlin Wall, just like Matt Drudge does. When we team up, it's unstoppable. And so that's why they want to try to extinguish us just through pure, absolute panic. But there's the Streisand effect of them all over the news and lawsuits and Google documents coming out our ears, where they are literally obsessed with me and you at Google, Facebook, and Twitter, and we are like the mascots of evil. We're like the 5 minutes of hate. They literally throw darts at our faces. I mean, what is it we're doing that's so powerful? Not bragging about us so that everyone can recognize if they're so scared of this, we need to know what this is and use it against them. What else is it?
Well, I think it's just the fact that they've had control over their echo chambers for so long until, you know, it started, when we really started having an effect, which was before the election, and we really jumped onto this cultural narrative, which was against the regressive left. Then it started to snowball because we got more and more followers. And now it's, you know, like Vice put out articles saying the right, it's not even the right, it's just common sense people, it's libertarians, it's everyone, is winning the battle on YouTube. They're completely decimating all the leftists on YouTube. So they see that going on, and they get really jealous now because they used to leave YouTubers alone back in the day, but now they see people, even like PewDiePie, who's barely political, is building up at least this idea that he's independent and they can't control him. And that's the threat that they hate, the threat of not being able to control somebody's message who has that much power. So now we've got on YouTube, there you see it, what I was talking about, the right's dominating.
By the way, I wish you wouldn't have told them that, because in Congress they talked about that, in the New York Times, everywhere they quoted you, and then that's when the real censorship kicked in. And they said, look, they're General Watson, it says they are defeating us, and they use the fact, well, gosh, but they finally weren't as arrogant anymore. See, I wish we had stayed under the radar. I'm not saying you're wrong, but they were still so arrogant until you said that. They finally admitted it to themselves.
I know it's all my fault. I can apologize. But yeah, they were like, yeah, they're basically right. They are dominating us. And that's when you saw the algorithm change. Like, Alex, when I upload a YouTube video, I instantly lose like 300 subscribers. In the aggregate, I get more per day, but still, I'm set on a certain tier where I literally get subscribers mass deleted.
We have the executive saying our #1 mission is shut Alex Jones down. We just don't let people see their videos. We don't let them have their notifications. People have to hand share it as an act of rebellion. Pick the videos you think are most important and spread them. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, meanwhile, there's a top tier of advertiser-friendly creators who can monetize tragedies, like Jimmy Kimmel when he goes on a gun control rant after the Las Vegas massacre. He can monetize that. You've literally got people who can film the dead bodies of suicide victims like Logan Paul. That doesn't get taken down by YouTube. But they took down a video put out by the Polish government talking about immigration. That got censored. They censored a video of Jordan Peterson, a professor, defending himself against accusations of racism. So it's a two-tier system, where on the bottom tier, it's deliberate now. It's completely out in the open. They can't hide it any longer. They're really trying to not only bury us with the algorithm, but outright censor us. It's only going to get worse unless we keep screaming from the rooftops about it, and unless we go on the offensive, which is what this petition's about. Share the petition, sign the petition on Infowars.com.
To have Oprah Winfrey disavow Harvey Weinstein. Remember, Christians worldwide got rid of real discrimination, or tried to. So how does the left come in? They turn it around and go, oh, it's affirmative action to censor all the conservatives, libertarians, and white people so that we can be even, but it's big corporations that are actually doing it. It's not even being done for the minorities. It's just incredible. Paul Joseph Watson, thank you so much. We'll be back with North Korea's latest developments. Ladies and gentlemen, we're back live now, well into hour number 2. Paul Joseph Watson, who just joined me in the last hour, will be hosting the 4th hour from London, England. We also have some other very informative guests. Gavin McGinnis of CRTV, and the great work they're doing over there, is going to be joining us. Joel Skousen, worldaffairsbrief.com, editor, pilot, Marine Corps officer, and aviator for the Vietnam era, best-selling author, one of the top experts on relocation and the safe home. We sell all of his books and materials, from the documentary Breakdown, Strategic Relocation, the film, his color book, and also the other great book, The Secure Home, all available at InfoWarsStore.com. But the reason we have him joining us here is there's the waterfront to cover. And I want to hit a bunch of issues with him in the limited time we have, but also want to get weekly updates, as he's been nice enough to give us on North Korea, because he's been one of the most accurate analysts in the last, really, 20 years, obsessing on North Korea, some would say, and breaking down how he believed approaching the year 2020, it would be the trigger for a worldwide thermonuclear war, that the globalists were planning to allow this to happen. He's already covered that probably 100 times here, literally. But now you see, in what, 20-plus years, they've not had negotiations to actually send delegations. The media said, oh, it's been 2 years since they used the hotline. Well, yeah, they'll use the hotline 2 years ago after a firefight or something, not using the hotline to have a major, some of the biggest talks since 1953 at the last ceasefire armistice, in my view. Now, the real expert on this is Joel Skousen, and he's been over in that part of the world and covered it in depth. But Trump lining up the ships, the weapons, the submarines, the cruise missiles, the satellites to hit the North, and the new SpaceX launch and that secret payload for the Air Force, that's really got North Korea paying attention. Because from all my military contacts, and I've been saying this for about 4 months, so is Skousen, I mean, they've been told we're going to hit them. And you see top Marine Corps generals saying, unfortunately, we're going to hit them, and we got to bring troops in to get ready to go to war with Russia. You don't have talk like that unless you're like Cuban Missile Crisis level stuff. But is North Korea going to back down? So Joel Skousen joins us on that huge central issue. But the big thing for me, once you've covered that, my friend, is to watch CNN, MSNBC, all of them. It's one thing to undermine the president in America first and try to sabotage it, but to be dangerous enough almost uniformly to not even criticize Kim Jong-un now and say Trump is insane, Trump is crazy, he's going to get us in a war. That historically is, don't they have any common sense? Don't the globalists care at any level about the messages this sends? Because, again, oh, the president is talking about his small genitals, and then he's not doing it. He's saying, okay, you got a nuclear button, we got a bigger one, and it works. That's a very measured response, I think, and points out we're the one with the big arsenal. But you're the military man and the expert on this from your research. Where are we currently?
Let me be frank, Alex, the globalists know exactly what they're doing. It's not a matter of common sense. It's a matter of utter lack of morality. Just like World War II, they knew that Hitler was going to strike the West, but they invested in it. They built him up as an enemy, just as they've been building up Russia and China as enemies for decades. I mean, we gave the first nuclear enriched uranium to Russia so that they could explode their first weapon a year after the Japanese attack. We gave We brought Mao Zedong to power in China, and we've been through, especially through the Clinton administration and the Department of Commerce, giving military technology to China. And now we've been doing it since the Clinton administration through Israel. A lot of Americans don't realize that the technology we give to Israel, they're allowed to sell to China to make hard currency cash. And so this is a real significant betrayal. And of course, going after Trump's mentality is part of the Article 25 strategy. If they can't impeach him, they'll try to make him out to be mentally incompetent. Every hour of the day, you see Michael Wolff paraded before the world trying to tell him about all of, I mean, he's even saying that 100% of the staff in the West Wing of the White House has at some point in the 7 months he had access to the White House, and by the way, that's the biggest mistake Steve Bannon ever made, was giving Wolff access to the White House and not vetting this guy as the enemy of Trump that he is. But Wolff says that virtually 100% of everyone in the White House have told him that at some way or another, Trump is a child and acts like a child. I mean, this is just ludicrous to believe that 100% would say that.
The truth is that Trump is super wily like a fox and has, I mean, it's in my personal experience, what we've seen and what he's delivered, it's the opposite of that.
But he certainly, has some childlike attributes. He is a flatterer. He accepts flattery back and forth. I've talked about how they manipulate him through flattery. But, this is more a spoiled person syndrome. But he is not dumb. I mean, Trump is a very, very smart man. He is limited by the cordon of information they put up around him, and they keep him churning with one crisis after another. I mean, I don't know how the person can operate in the White House with the crisis management that's going on there. But North Korea is the biggest issue on the table in the White House right now because Trump is about or is inclined to do the right thing, and that is take down North Korea militarily. He knows in his gut that there is no negotiated solution with Kim Jong-un, and yet every one of his globalist advisors is pushing that negotiate. And they are reveling in the fact that North Korea, as I predicted in the World Affairs Brief, North Korea would turn on the charm offensive in order to stop Trump from attacking him, in order to give to Trump's advisors the excuse that you can't attack Trump while they're in negotiations, and especially during the Olympics. So this was a very smart move by North Korea to play the charm offensive with South Korea. Notice they didn't play it with Trump. Trump is suspicious of that. Trump has trumpeted many times that North Korea has lied every time they've gone to the negotiation table, and he's absolutely correct. But South Korea and their government is full of a bunch of pacifists.
Exactly. So they're going right at the weak link, right at the people that will be attacked, and trying to break away partners in the coming attack.
That's right. And the South Korean government has numerous times pushed back against Trump about a military solution. And, they are in part responsible for not sounding the warning about their people, about the growing military threat of North Korea. And it is ominous now. I mean, you got 15,000 artillery tubes positioned less than 40 miles from Seoul, which can literally wreak havoc in that. And so they are at risk of being as harmed way. And so the South Korean government thinks that we can postpone this by having negotiations. But look, it's going to be war one way or the other. The more you postpone it, the more you guarantee that North Korea will be stronger and more powerful when they do strike. And they are going to strike.
And a lot of folks say, oh, they're starving, they're weak, they're being used as a set piece by China. Why are we doing this? But I agree with you. Long term, they've been set up for a reason. Michael Moore, Hillary bragged and said Trump will be faced with an international crisis very quickly that'll embarrass him. People see what a fool he is. They thought he'd back down. The Clintons, the Chinese communists, I believe the evidence is clear, just like they gave him the missiles and the weapons. And just like some of the leftists in Israel have been known to we're not anti-Israel, but Israel has been endangering everybody's security, selling stuff to China that we give them. It's wrong. It needs to stop. So clearly they're trying to, they thought they'd manipulate North Korea into embarrassing Trump. I think that's why North Korea got so belligerent and had so many tests and nuclear tests as soon as Trump got in, was because they thought they had globalist backing behind the scenes.
Well, the globalists are really turning on the pressure on Trump to stop this strike. But incredibly, Alex, it came out today that the bloody nose military option is still on the table. I covered this in the World Affairs Brief, where the Pentagon is thinking about giving Kim Jong-un a bloody nose, meaning a very small token military attack in response to the next missile test that will take out, some missile alongside, et cetera, to make him so-called.
Hold on, stay there, and let's explain the threat continuum. If he's threatening nukes, threatening to blow up Guam, testing missiles, we just blow up a missile base and say, okay, it's your move now, and then let them launch the attack, and then that way we can go in and totally destroy them if they call us, because we're not bluffing. Let's discuss that straight ahead with Joel Skousen. Stay with us. Joel Skousen of worldaffairsbrief.com is our guest. I'm Alex Jones. Infowars.com and newswars.com are our main sites. prisonplanet.com is the backup, but they all have original content on them. They also have a lot of the same content as well. And it's an act of serious resistance when you spread the articles and videos. I don't have to tell you. That's a question I've got for Joel, because it's just getting insane. Facebook, Twitter, Google executives admit they're censoring us on their lunch hour before Congress. Google documents come out where they say we're the #1 enemy and we're banned from their campuses, and they're hiring groups to go delist us online. And I mean, I'm not on a power trip, folks. In fact, I'm actually freaked out that now, literally after Trump, and Drudge is much bigger than us, and he does a great job, but they obsess on InfoWars, and I think it's the guest we have on, the fact that we're able to put out talking points that are based in reality, the fact that everything we talk about then gets picked up by the rest of the conservative media. I think that's why they're so scared of us. We'll get back into North Korea, but just briefly, Joel Skousen, because I think knowing why they're so scared of us gives us the answer to how to completely defeat them. Why are they so scared of InfoWars? I mean, I think it's the guest we have on like you, but I mean, what is it?
Well, the core that they are most afraid of in the news is any hint that there is a conspiracy in government, whether it's globalist, whether it's the dark side, the deep state, and you openly talk about that. It's one of the reasons why you're the biggest person on the block in the conservative libertarian movement, is because you dare to discuss conservative openly. I dare to discuss it. And that's why I have a large following as well. But they hate that. And it's not so much that you're big. That's one big thing. But it's the content. The content is absolutely essential. I've said for years, the more conservatives steer away from the conservative, conspiracy, you're falling right into the trap of the liberal media that denigrates conspiracy. They don't want to hear it. They don't want that information because it resonates with people that have a conscience. When you talk about 9/11 being a government operation from the beginning, it resonates, especially if they get the facts, if they're at all open-minded. And that's the big threat that you are. And literally, I enjoy very much Paul's segment before I came on. He was right on. This is a major violation of free speech throughout the world. And we are becoming the Holocaust victims of this time and age.
And again, I brought that up because you've been saying this for 40, 50 years. You headed up one of the biggest conservative organizations that tried to take the country back before, but you didn't fail. It created new waves that grew into this wave, and now globally we see nationalism rising. We see globalists being swept out of office. I'm not saying they're beaten yet, but they certainly are panicked. And so even if we fight and don't win all this now, as you said, it will create waves of other people that awaken throughout time and space, and that's why it's so timeless. They want to make us think we're powerless. We're not. But getting back to North Korea, because you didn't tell me what you thought, because I mean, I know the globalists helped give them the weapons. I know they give them stuff through China, but since things got worse with North Korea as soon as Trump got in, is there any intel confirming that back channels have told Kim Jong-un, go ahead and be blusterous, go ahead and get in Trump's face, we're not going to back him? Because certainly the media is acting like they like Kim Jong-un and don't like Trump. I mean, it's outrageous.
I don't think, Alex, there's been any concerted effort to get Kim Jong-un to be the kind of wild card that he is. This is in his DNA. This is why he was allowed to rise into power. It's to China and Russia's best interest to have the appearance of a crazy man in North Korea, so that when he starts World War III, and that's been the plan for years on the communist side, and the globalists know this, and that's why they have been permissive with North Korea for years. You can only tell this if you compare it to how we treat Iran, that doesn't even have a nuclear weapon yet. And we've been in a death threat mode against Iran for decades, and yet North Korea, we keep giving them a pass. Now, they're going to give him a pass again if Trump isn't very, very careful. He's made a couple of tactical mistakes. In the first place, he had the equipment on the ground to be able to shoot down North Korean the past 2 missile tests, and he should have done so. That's the only suitable bloody nose strategy from a military point of view that's worth its salt, because it appears to be defensive. We're protecting Japan's airspace from these missiles by shooting them down. That would give him a bloody nose, but not the pretext of being able to attack South Korea. Now, if you do an attack on the land of North Korea, Kim Jong-un has to save face. He's going to attack South Korea, and it's going to be disastrous to allow those artillery tubes to open up before we're ready to take them out. And believe me, it's the largest military operation you can mount to take out 15,000 artillery tubes spread out over 100 and 150 miles along the DMZ.
Well, Trump has hinted at secret weapons, and our sources say, yeah, there's obviously a lot of them up there, but even more have been deployed just for this.
I'm not sure that they would allow those to come out. It's my belief that because the globalist intention is to allow a nuclear first strike on American military forces, they don't want to expose the secret weapon systems until after that strike occurs. Then, as they push Americans to join a militarized global government in response to the devastation of our military, they bring out secret weapon systems to protect us against further attacks. Now, there are a full range of secret weapons, including neutron bomb weapons and large area weapons that are capable of taking out large forces of North Korean artillery forces, which are the main threat against South Korea. How much, and it's anybody's guess of whether or not they would bring those out, but I can tell you, I think they're going to be very reluctant to do so until the whole Third World War starts, because they don't want the American people to know they have the capacity to defend us when they don't defend us against that first strike that has been planned for so many years. The problem, as I've said before on your show, is that Trump's advent and his gut feelings to take down North Korean military is threatening to use up this trigger event before it's time, too early, because Russia and China aren't ready to prosecute a third.
And then we'd take out the trigger event, and then they wouldn't have their... Sorry, go ahead.
Well, I think they've got a contingency plan here. If Trump attacks South Korea, they will attempt to get him to negotiate a truce short of victory, just like they did in the first Korean War, so that this would preserve the trigger event to resurrect itself after 2020 sometime, when Russia and China will be more ready to prosecute a third world war. So they can win either way. I mean, the globalists are deeply ensconced in the Trump administration. It's going to be difficult to root them out. I have lost total confidence in Jeff Sessions' ability to root them out, and Trump's ability to see who's a globalist and who isn't. I mean, he hasn't got anyone surrounding him to advise him and tell him that Christopher Wray, who he installed as FBI director, is just as much a globalist as James Comey was and as Robert Mueller was. So,
but when he learns they're bad, he gets rid of them.
About that. I know it's
exactly, but it just shows that he's being given horrible.
It's hard to do.
And again, we're not trying to talk over each other. His Skype kind of degraded there at the end. But a very powerful information. Thank you for that perspective and research. We're all obviously praying and focused and watching. And it's just an incredible time to be alive. WorldAffairsBrief.com. Thank you, Joel Skousen. We'll be back with other huge breaking news. The president has responded to Oprah Winfrey. We have the video. Stay with us straight ahead. There's an addendum that I want to add on to the last 2 segments here that I didn't get to that was important, and I wanted to bring up for Joel Skousen, along my point of it being the globalists that keep propping up North Korea through China, that keep giving them weapons. And it's true that Israel has a long history, off and on, of transferring sensitive technology to China, and it's completely legal. The United States transfers money and military equipment to Israel, and then they transfer it to China, and so does our government. And so does the British government. I mean, it's all these big arms-selling countries, but China then gives it to North Korea. And if you look at China's weapons, they're all clones of U.S. weapons. And they're constantly threatening to attack us. And so one of the points that the crew raised was in a Vice report. I don't just go off Vice News. I remember the research that came out last year that the missile factories that were in Ukraine that were producing engines for the Russians for their Satan missile, heavy lift missile. That's what we call it, the Satan missile. They've got a numerical number for it. Being transferred, and suddenly that's why North Korea's missiles can get off the launch pad and go so high. And the headlines, no one is sure which country is helping North Korea make its missiles. But then when you read deeper into it, they go, but it is in the area controlled by the group that Soros backed that overthrew the Ukraine. So when Russia was running Ukraine, or had some connection to it, put it to you that way, when there was a friendly government, they weren't transferring their heavy lift boost technology to North Korea. It happened when the globalists took over. And it's the same story. Who gave the Communist Chinese the Long March missile perfection? Who gave them the MIRV technology? Who gave them the booster technology? Who gave them the avionics? Who gave them all of it? The United States of America and Israel. And it's just suicidal. Reminds me of the stories in the news about quite a few brokers, 5 or 6 of them, who were in the World Trade Center and were making so much money at their terminals while the building was on fire, they didn't evacuate and died. But not before, one of them made like $15 million in a few minutes and was transferring the money to his family. But it's suicide banking. Why are we giving China everything? Well, Trump says no more. We're going to have a 38.9%, almost 40% tax. You got a 15, we're going to 15. China goes, we're going to 0. The globalists have set it up. We're flyover country to screw us. And Trump, who's far from perfect, nobody is at least trying to help the country. And that's why it makes me sick. We got a Noah Schroyer video coming up here in a little while where he went out. And I said, you know, during the campaign, and then now right through last year till the tax cut was passed in December, you can go out, Fox News has done it, others have done it, and you read people Trump's tax plan, but you tell them it's Bernie Sanders or Hillary, and to a person they say, I want that. Same thing happened in Austin, Texas. But I told Owen, listen, they won't talk to you. Take the InfoWars flag off the mic and hold a Bernie sign. And he went out and did it. And they come over and they love Bernie's plan, except it's Trump's plan. And one guy has enough integrity to say, I guess I look like an idiot, a black guy. This old white lady, after he's super polite to her, walks by and goes, fake news, once he turns his back. I mean, the level of cowardice and disingenuousness is insane. And, of course, all during the bill, they said, oh, really won't do that. Oh, it's not true. Now even CBS News goes, okay, the average family gets $13,000. $13,000. I mean, that's going to explode the economy. And, yeah, the tax cuts to companies is going to explode it more. And guess what? It did explode. So that's coming up. We've also got amazing developments in Russia we're going to cover in the next segment. But I want to get to this first. President Trump has responded to Oprah Winfrey, saying he knows her well, been on her show many times, been out to dinner with her many times. You watch what Trump said on her show 25 years ago, 30 years ago. It's everything he did today. Napton Gat's a scam. We're getting screwed over. If I ever became president, I'd do this, but I don't want to. I want to get good leaders in. But they're running Oprah publicly now, even if she's probably not going to run officially, to make it look like, oh, the women and the black folks are against him. Well, we have record low unemployment for blacks in 11 months and 20 days. We're 10 days out from the one-year anniversary. And if you don't appreciate how we've turned the corner, something's wrong with you. And then I see the people that hate us, like this video that's on Infowars.com. A fat SJW walks into a gun store, hilarity ensues. It's like 10 minutes long. I watched it this morning, and it actually made me get a tear in my eye. It didn't make me laugh, because this is a brainwashed victim, but also nasty and dangerous. These SJWs can hardly walk. They act like demonic 3-year-olds because they have a Gadsden flag. They march in and call them a racist. That's the Southern Poverty Law Center gets people's places shot up because they say the Gadsden flag is a white supremacist flag. And this SJW walks in, and it flips out. And I say it because, you know, California, you get arrested if you say somebody's gender wrong, so just it. And there's a stack of Bibles, and they're free, and it says, can I have these? And he says, yeah. You're going to give them to people. So it begins to throw them, crack the window, throw them on the roof, flop it back like a big baby, and the cops come, and the guy doesn't even want it to be sent to jail. He just wants it on record to not trespass again in case it might be dangerous. But, I mean, this is a LARPer, not even a LARPer, someone that plays video games all day, going out to find a Nazi. And this person literally is in a haze, a dreamlike state, hardly walk, kind of rub. That's people that are in a dreamlike state. They're sleepwalking. And the studies show it. SJWs generally have lower brainwaves closer to sleep. They're in a trance. They believe it. Comes in and says, oh, you won't sell guns to a expletive. If I say the expletive, they'll edit it out on the Young Turks or somewhere in, you know, Megyn Kelly and play it and say that Jones is calling people names. It's always the left spewing racial terms and teaching people racial terms and teaching you sex terms that you never imagined. You know, like an upper decker or a dirty Sanchez and all this stuff that you don't even want to know it, and they just throw it at you constantly. Excuse me, that's what they do. But it's like everything I ever learned that's like crazy. How they chop their arms and legs off for sexual fetishes, how you pour Drano in your eyes, how you have sex with automobiles, how they go after children, all of this. And then we're the bad guys. I'm going to have to come back with Trump. Well, you know what, let's go to Trump's response right now to Oprah saying he thinks it's a bluff. And I tend to think it is, but they're going to run her as like the shadow president. That's why she's got to be exposed. We've got the petition to have her renounce her lordship that she reportedly has relations with. Publicly, she kisses all over him and sticks her tongue in his ear. Lord Goblin Weinstein. Let's go back to Trump. Here it is.
Hey, can you beat Oprah, by the way? Thank you. Yeah, I'll beat Oprah. Oprah would be a lot of fun. I know her very well. You know, I did one of her last shows. She had Donald Trump, this is before politics, her last week. And she had Donald Trump, and my family was very nice. No, I like Oprah. I don't think she's going to run. I don't think she's going to run. I know her very well.
You know, that's a little message he knows about the stuff in the closet. And nothing wrong with being a wild woman. I mean, she likes her men, let me tell you. Now, luring young girls into Weinstein, that's another pickle, another kettle of fish. But as they say, I think Ivanka did this at Trump's direction to play good cop and bad cop. You know, she's been saying she likes Oprah in tweets. And I said, oh, this is more liberal stuff. You know, she's got to watch it. But see, Trump's just going, hey, I'm not going to fight with you, Oprah. Hey, I'm not going to do it, lady. Hey, this is stupid. Oliver had been nice to you. You want to start a fight with me, you're not going to get what you want. But it doesn't mean that people like me aren't going to come in from the other angle like an attack dog, because Oprah Winfrey is a African depopulating witch, period. And I will stand against true hardcore Nazis like her. She's as bad as Hitler. From the front lines of victory, from the front lines of those seeking Christ, we bring you the InfoWar. But that doesn't mean I'm a Pharisee. Doesn't mean I'm a glitterbug preacher up there telling you how good I am. I'm wicked. I've got just as evil a brain as the worst of those people out there, but they're missing a connection to God, and that's the difference. But God tends to use bad boys throughout history to really take down the evil, and I am a blessed vessel. And I'm not a hypocrite. I don't lie to you about who I am and what I stand for. And when I say I'm evil, I'm not out committing evil deeds. But I have a wicked heart. And I'm a vengeful person. And vengeance is God's. But the churches need to warn people about corrupt governments and evil systems. And they don't do that because most of them aren't churches. And I'm not judging your church if they're a 501c3. People are born into this since the 50s. But you become a charity of the government when Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof, or the right of the people to peacefully assemble the press or redress of grievances and all that. But the first thing in the First Amendment is government has no jurisdiction over churches. That's how the Hopi Indians can get out, sit out in the middle of the desert and take peyote, because that's in their religion. Supreme Court rightfully said they've been doing it for 10,000 years. It's their religion. And their priest can't administer it. And in major medical studies, it's been shown to be one of the best things for depression, you name it. Not that I know anything about that. I'm just sitting there telling you what the medical reports say. And that's a side issue as we go off into pharmakia. The reason I mention that is we are fighting good and evil. And at the end of the day, the globalists are evil. Hollywood is evil. North Korea is evil. Their people aren't evil, but the people running it are evil. And you see what communism and globalism creates: abject poverty and slavery, people at each other's throats, because that's what scum wants. And scum never takes responsibility for what they've done or the wrong they've done. They only attack, attack, attack. And their failures, they always blame on you, when they're the ones that are the authors of everything they've engaged in themselves. Communism never failed. It was that you didn't go along with it right. But when you get down to brass tacks, globalism is designed to fail. Before I get to this powerful Owen Schroyer report, I'm the guy that comes up with the specials and the products and a lot of stuff around here. We have a great team. And they try to meet with me and say, hey, you're ending all these specials. We're selling out of all these products. You got to stop the free shipping. And you got to stop the sales, because we just sold out of all these items. And we're not getting more for months. And I said, I know, but I never got around to new sales. That's why we have free shipping still today, but on Rainforce and on a bunch of other best-selling products, they're no longer at 50% off because they're about to sell out. Okay? But literally, some of the specials are still there because I just have been working on news and information and things. And so that's not the crew's fault. That's my fault. So I don't just say the sale ends today, the sale ends today, and then it doesn't end because I haven't gone and sat around and looked at all the great products and come up with a new sale. So what we do have is something that we're going to launch till next week, and which I'm not even going to do justice to, and I plug here today, that is over a year in the making, produced by one of the top organic firms in the country, that if you want proven studies and documentation, I'm even able to, I can speak for hours just on the files I have here of what this is proven to do, the ingredients in this. This is the ultimate immune system boost for this time of year, any time of the year. But Immune Wall is incredible. And folks, other formulas that aren't even as good are $70, $80. It's a great deal at $39. It is $29.95 out of the gates. Immune Wall, beta-glucans, olive leaf, and so much more. It is concentrated. You need to go read what is in here. The mushroom blend of the most expensive, highest quality mushrooms that just incredibly accelerate. A citrus peel blend. I mean, this is the next level. Wellmune, beta-glucans, and it's big dosages of all of them. And it's a great price. Most supplement companies mark things up 4 to 7 times. We mark it up 140% at retail, and we never sell at retail. We're always at least 20% off. Sometimes we go 50, and people have responded, but these aren't games where we raise prices and then we lower prices. Like they do on Black Friday, most companies have been shown, like they'll boost them the week before and then lower them the next week to regular price. We don't do that. These are really great deals. So for yourself, your children, your family, I give our vitamin B12 to my children. I give them, when they have a sore throat, the colloidal silver, and they're super healthy. And Immune Wall finally came in Monday. The 18-wheeler showed up Monday from the plant here in the U.S., and I was going to cut ads and have it all fancy rollout, but here's the fancy rollout right now because I'm literally wargaming our promotions and pitches just live on air because I just haven't done it. I mean, it's an amazing product. Page after, like, document cam shot, please. Look, master product development line, approved by the lawyers, the scientists, everything. You know, most things can't make claims. High beta-glucan medical mushrooms, citrus peel, olive leaves. Now modern science allows these studies ingredients scientifically with clinical trials to bring you the most potent formulas. And it goes through Well-Immune. The main ingredient helps prime immune system for support. It's got all the studies. This is certified. When traveling, strengthens immune cells to protect against harmful effects of stress, and is clinically proven to improve key immune responses. Well-Immune is clinically proven safe for daily use. You can boost your immune system year-round, activate the immune system, and help support. And then it's got all the studies right here and what it does. The organic turkey tail mushroom, the organic reishi, organic maitake, organic shiitake, organic orange peel, organic lemon peel. It's got everything in it right there, ladies and gentlemen. It's a vegetable capsule, and you owe it to your children. I mean, look at this page. Substantiated claim sheet. I'm just showing you the internal stuff approved by lawyers and the scientists. Just look at this. Look at everything it does. I mean, it's insane. I can't even go over all this. It's ridiculous. Strengthens your body's key immune factors. Produces enhanced immune support by helping activate the body's own defenses. Strengthens immune cells to protect against the harmful effects of stress. Helps support healthy functioning of your immune system. Assists in enhancing overall health and vitality. Helps prime the immune system. Helps your body mobilize your immune system. It just goes on, and that's page after page. I mean, I can't even go over all this. Healthy energy boosting. Good for the heart. Good for the joints. It's insane how good these concentrated herbs are. It's now available, ladies and gentlemen, Immune Wall. I think it's beyond seasonal. This is something, particularly in the winter, though. Well, I was giving another leading brand that cost more to my children until this came in. And now this is what I'm giving them. And they look so good. They're so healthy compared to the other children. I'm just being honest. Everybody sees my children and says, are these kids like movie stars or something? Like glowing? What? I mean, what's going on here? And I'm like, man, I'm just feeding them organic food, and I don't even have to sit there at the breakfast table and the dinner table and make them take this stuff anymore. They just go over and, take it. And it's not drugs. It's just concentrated plants, good, healthy things. And, yeah, it's good to feed them the mushrooms themselves, and it's good to feed them the eggs, and it's the organic eggs and all of it. They're getting all that, but you add this, it just takes it over the top. So there is free shipping still in place. And it will be over soon. I just got to shut that off because it's still up on the site. Beta, glucan, olive leaf, and more. Immune Wall, InfoWarsStore.com, InfoWarsLife.com, or 888-253-3139. And again, there are still some of the best-selling items like the Real Red Pill 50% off, X2 50% off, and a bunch of others. But a bunch of them are gone because they've sold out. InfoWarsStore.com or 888-253-3139. And please, I didn't plug for the last hour and 50 minutes. I'm doing a little longer plug here. Support our local affiliates. Become sponsors. Whatever you spread the word about the local stations and spread the live links, videos, articles. You see the Globalist everywhere. The Google documents, the national lawsuits, everywhere. That's why I haven't sued Google yet. I told you I was because I've been talking to folks behind the scenes saying, don't worry, it's coming, and Trump's going to trust bust them. That's why they're so desperately trying to get him out, because busting up those trusts is the next thing to happen. These are anti-American groups. But that's all going to come after the fake news awards coming up in 8 days of our great maverick president, the scourge of tyranny, the man hated by vampires everywhere, the man hated by communists and dirtbags and filthy SJWs and evil witches like Hillary Clinton. Coming up, Gavin McInnes of HRTV is going to be joining us. HRTV, or CRTV, going from memory there. My head is spinning right now. I mean, it is just so insane, everything that's going on. There's just too much news. It's just getting crazier and crazier and crazier. When we come back, it's the top link on drudgereport.com. Wolf admits didn't interview any White House cabinet officials for anti-Trump book. But let's get to this powerful Owen Schroyer report. Here it is.
So I don't know if have you been following Trump's tax plan at all?
Yes, I have.
And what do you think about it?
Well, I think it's got some real issues.
I mean, are you a supporter of Trump? Do you not like Trump?
Don't like him.
Okay, not a fan of Trump. So you probably, I mean, do you think you would like his tax plan?
No.
I think that it gives people money back, but it's under the guise of helping out the middle class, when in reality it kind of helps out his cronies and the people he'd planned to help out with to begin with.
I'm not a fan of Trump or his tax plan.
Well, I feel the burn.
Yeah?
Still do, but...
Well, don't you think, I mean, there's a couple highlights here. We're trying to get people to agree. There's a couple highlights from Bernie's proposed tax plan. For example, he wants to preserve tax credits for people that produce electricity from wind, biomass, you know, geothermal, solar, stuff like that. Would you support something like that in a tax plan?
Absolutely.
Power stuff that's, you know, more sustainable, renewable. He wants to provide tax credits for that. Would you get behind something like that?
Absolutely.
Would you support that?
Yeah.
Would you support that?
Yes.
People that work with renewable energy, sustainable energy like wind, you would support that?
Of course.
Yes, yeah. I'm not super educated on this subject, so I don't really want to put forward a lot of opinions.
What about the child tax credit? Bernie's plan wants to double the child tax credit to make it $2,000 per kid that's a dependent, so that some of those, you know, middle-class families or whatever that have multiple children, they keep some of that money in their own pocket. Is that something you support in a tax plan?
Yeah, I'd be okay with that.
Well, the child tax credit, so they keep some of that money. Would you support that?
Absolutely, absolutely.
You would support that?
Yeah.
These are getting more of the money. They're keeping more of their own money. Do you like that part of the plan?
I do.
I don't think so.
No, you don't like that? What about you?
Ooh, I'm on the fence on that one, to be honest.
And why don't you like that?
People might abuse it.
So they might start having kids and...
Yeah, just to get a tax deduction, and it wouldn't be good.
Well, they'd still be paying more for having a kid, though.
That is true.
So I'll just give you one more here, and we'll let you go. He wants a repatriation tax. So basically, some of these assets and monies that are sitting overseas that people have been trying to avoid the taxes at, he wants to put a mandatory tax on that as a repatriation effort.
Like offshore bank accounts, etc.
Yeah, is that something that you would support in a tax plan?
Yeah, definitely.
And it sets a mandatory tax on that so that they have to pay for all those funds that they're trying to keep, you know, untaxed overseas. Would that be something you support too?
Oh, yeah.
That you can't just put these funds over there or have them sitting over there without taxing them. Would you support that?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
Just have that sitting over there or move the money over there without paying taxes. Would you support that?
Yeah, if it would alleviate, you know, the taxes that lower-income families have to pay, then yes.
Cold hard cash that these corporations and people have overseas, a mandatory tax. Would you support that?
Finding it. Yeah, I support it, but it's so lawyered up and buried in, yeah, it's good luck finding it.
Okay, so now what if I just told you, I actually just told you Trump's tax plan?
Then, I mean, clearly I don't know what I'm doing.
So how do you feel about it now?
Then I have to relook at the facts because I don't trust anything that comes out of his presidency.
Now, what if I told you that I actually just read to you Trump's tax plan?
I'd be surprised. I'd kind of believe it, honestly. I'm really bad at politics and all this stuff. I'm science major.
I agree with this.
Okay, so now what if I just told you that I actually read you Trump's tax plan?
I think those, you know, those are things that I'm speechless.
You may not like Trump, but maybe some of his policies are good.
We'll see.
All right, well, that's what just happened. So you just said you supported his tax plan.
Okay.
Hey, thank you for your time, ma'am. You were wonderful. Have a great day, okay? Thank you.
Fake news.
Well, he's one of the founders of Vice. He's a famous comedian, filmmaker, and he, of course, hosts a very popular TV program with CRTV. Gavin McInnes is joining us for the next 30 minutes, maybe longer. And he wants to get into the very same things I want to get into. Oprah Winfrey and the president's response. Our story's top linked on the left-hand side of Drudge. Wolf admits that's the king of yellow journalism. I mean, CNN's the king of fake news entity, but he is the king of fake journalism. Didn't interview any White House cabinet officials for anti-Trump book, but then he said he interviewed everyone. So, see, they've been claiming Trump's lying, saying he never saw him, he was never in the White House. Then he learns, well, he's never in the Oval Office, Trump never met him. Then the guy said, well, he did. And then he said he also interviewed the president on a bunch of programs. But now we learned he didn't interview any of them. Wow, a known liar is a liar. Unbelievable. That's coming up. We've got Oprah petition. Oprah must disavow Harvey Weinstein. We've got videos and photos of him grabbing him, kissing him, sticking her tongue in his ear, bringing hot chicks to him. I mean, I know Oprah likes to party. And that's fine if you and Weinstein like to, you know, roll around in the whatever together. I mean, the word is they've got a relationship. The issue is the spider bringing flies to the other spider. I guess that's how spiders love each other. Or the praying mantis might bring another bug to the female praying mantis or vice versa. So we're going to be looking at that. We've also got this department store that had a little kid with a monkey on his shirt. I mean, my kids have had Curious George shirts. Doesn't mean that they're monkeys. But we've got that. The Weekend says goodbye to H&M over racist monkey sweatshirt ad. That's right, because, again, if somebody's got a shirt about monkeys, little kids love monkeys, coolest monkey in the jungle, that's racist. Wow. I didn't know that. I think all 4 of my kids actually have shirts that say something about monkeys, and you know, you go to the store and they'll have like, your kid can be a unicorn, or your kid can be a monkey, or your kid can be a fish, or your kid can be with the little bath towels they wear on their head so bath time's fun. I think all my children have had monkey outfits. I didn't know that I was saying my children were monkeys. So we're going to talk to Gavin McInnes about that as well. But first, here's the president responding to Oprah Winfrey saying she might run for president or be the shadow president. Here it is.
Hey, can you beat Oprah, by the way? Thank you. Yeah, I'll beat Oprah. Oprah would be a lot of fun. I know her very well. You know, I did one of her last shows. She had Donald Trump, this is before politics, her last week. And she had Donald Trump, and my family was very nice. No, I like Oprah. I don't think she's going to run. I don't think she's going to run. I know her very well.
Yeah, he knows her very well. A lot of skeletons is what he's hinting at. I was kind of mad at Ivanka Trump praises Oprah Winfrey's Golden Globe speech because it is a bunch of bull and anti-male stuff, but maybe they're trying the judo move of being friendly here. Well, Gavin McInnes and myself, we're not going to go with the judo move. Gavin McInnes, my friend, what do you make of all this?
I make of it, I was actually pretty worried about it last night because you think of, you know, the identity politics vote, the woman vote, the bitter vote, the millennial vote, the dumb vote. She's got all of these different votes that end up being more than 50% of the country. The people who genuinely have skin in the game and get politics, they're a minority. So I was kind of scared. And then I talked to Roger Stone a second ago and he goes, dude, relax. Can you imagine the kind of skeletons this woman has in her closet? And then he dropped it, but he's right. She's a lesbian.
Well, the word is she likes it all.
Oh, yeah? Well, I think, you know what a lot of lesbians do, especially when they're young and in their honeymoon phase?
Oh, we all know. They're into women then, but really they're intimidated by men. And then they just want a man that'll let them bring women in, but they want a man.
Well, a lot of them will use men as human dildos. Because it works, and it's an organic little piece of penis there that basically simulates
family audience. Whoa, sorry, go ahead.
So I think Stedman is just a human dildo that she would use with Gail. This is just a theory, of course, but it's not unheard of for lesbian couples to use a third guy as just sort of a sex toy.
Well, yes, and it's a horrible abuse to the man, too. I think it should be outlawed.
Poor guy. He must be crying himself to sleep at night. Poor
yeah,
bastard.
it's terrible. Family show, seriously. Please continue, Gavin.
Sorry. So I just think that Trump was alluding to that, and we've heard stories of her paying off people to hide lesbian affairs. She tried to hide that her husband her brother was gay, died of AIDS. She's tried to hide the fact that she didn't really grow up in poverty. I mean, these stories do well on daytime TV. I had 2 pet cockroaches. Come on. There wasn't a prisoner in 1700 who had pet cockroaches. She's such an obvious liar, and that works for daytime TV, but it won't work in politics where everything has to be aired out. She doesn't have a chance in hell.
Exactly, but they're going to run her like she's this glorious woman that cares. Meanwhile, she's literally the wingman going out and getting tail, and I guess you're going to go ahead and say it. I'm going to say it. She's well known with Weinstein to enjoy tail together. The word is she gets in bed with, I mean, I got Hollywood contacts. I mean, people see Oprah and Weinstein. They go in the room with a couple hot young chicks, and it's party time.
Well, you've seen that picture of her handing over that, I think she's a British R&B singer.
Yeah, the hot blonde.
The hot blonde. And the way Weinstein is touching her, I mean.
And the blonde's holding on to her. The blonde's like a little monkey clinging on. The blonde is like, help me.
It's like something out of ISIS, like Pakistan or something, where they're handing over these little boys to the other jihadists, and there's sort of this trepidation, like, am I doing this? Are we really doing this? Yes, it'll be okay, sweet one. It'll be okay. It's demon stuff.
She's handing a woman over to a famous rapist.
Yes, and when we watch the Golden Globes, too, we know Mira Sorvino isn't there because she said no. But everyone else, you look at them and you go, well, you're here. Did you say yes? I mean, Salma Hayek pretends she was a victim, but she did the lesbian scene in the movie for Weinstein. All these people followed the rules, and now after they've done this, which is really just very expensive prostitution, they put on their low-slung black dresses and go, me too. It's over now. I'm going to stop being an expensive prostitute. No, sorry, it doesn't work like that. You can't get on your high horse when it's fashionable.
Can you imagine being a high-end escort in New York or Chicago or L.A. and you knock, you go to the door and it's Oprah Winfrey in a dominatrix outfit?
I would do it, and I don't care what my wife says. I would do it for the story. Can you imagine at the bar with your buddies and you just got back from having sex with a $3-billionaire lesbian mogul? I mean, the stories are amazing.
Well, that's right. Here it is from the New York Post. Lesbian flings, prostitution, and abuse lies. Oprah's hidden life. And the word is she's seen more tail than a toilet seat.
She doesn't even know who her dad is. Look, America's ready for another black president. America's ready for a woman president. America is not ready for an unmarried, closeted lesbian with a deep, sordid past who believes in The Secret. She believes that if you keep saying something like, I want a Mercedes-Benz, it'll magically appear. She told a woman who had cancer that she could use The Secret instead of chemo. I mean, she did recommend Western medicine, but this woman said, I'm going to go with The Secret. Thanks, Oprah, and then promptly died.
Exactly, but it gets worse. It gets worse. Oprah runs this big tax-free cult with Bill and Melinda Gates and teaches Africans depopulation. And I'm trying to find the article I saw a few years ago. In Europe, she runs a group of women that pledge to never have children for the earth.
Wow. Well, she's racist, too. I mean, she goes to these inner city schools and she says, I don't like it here. They're all petty and they're materialistic. Meanwhile, she's the most materialist person in the world with the, you get a car, you get a car, you get $450 cheese steak knives. But when it comes to other people,
she hangs out. She's the only black person led into Bill and Melinda Gates' whole eugenics operation.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah,
and
look
then she opens a school in South Africa because she likes the blacks there. They seem more ambitious. She spends, what, $40 million of it. It's got a beauty salon. It's got a yoga studio. Only 150 girls can go. Thanks, Oprah. You helped the black elites in South Africa. Mugabe's kids can go. Fantastic.
Oh, yeah. No, look into her and, quote, secret meetings with world leaders to push depopulation with David Rockefeller. I mean, it's insane. I want to come back with Gavin McInnes and continue along this line and get into Trump, Wolf, all this ridiculous garbage. We're going to get into fake news when he got this huge standing ovation at the football game yesterday, and then they said he was getting booed and showed people outside. I want to get into, again, the whole monkey controversy. Your kid can't wear a monkey shirt if they're black, or that's racist. We'll be right back. I'm Alex Jones. That's right. Gavin McInnes, he agrees with the president. Hillary Clinton is nothing compared to Oprah Winfrey when you talk about the incredible skeletons. And if she thinks she's really going to run in 2020, I think it's a bluff. Trump thinks it's a bluff. But Gavin McInnes, he's really up on his Oprah history. Gavin, I mean, look, there's nothing wrong with being a prostitute, but pimping women, bringing women to Weinstein, all of it. This is mainstream news. Let's talk about why you think she's unelectable.
Look, her own mother said that you can take Oprah out of the ghetto, but you can't take the ghetto out of Oprah. She was remarkably promiscuous in the day, to put it mildly. She was turning tricks. She was basically a prostitute. And that's still in her DNA. So when she's with Weinstein and she's in this big world with these billionaires, she still has that ghetto mentality of, you want to try this girl out for a while? Let's try this girl. Hey, mind if I come along? And she's got the money to keep it all silent. But when you run for election, as we've seen with Trump, everything comes out. Things come out that weren't even true. And Oprah would never stand up to that kind of scrutiny. I mean, look at her whole life. She was such a slut. Sorry for the family show violation there. But she was such a slut. Her mother sent her to, what's his name, Vernon Winfrey. That wasn't even her father. It was just, this guy, by the way, deserves an award. He took this kid from the ghetto who claims to have pet cockroaches, slutting around like a prostitute, and turns her into a pillar of society, a stalwart businesswoman who makes billions. This guy deserves half her money. And she comes out of that and pretends that it's always been peaches and cream and she's perfectly normal. No, she's a sexual deviant. She's basically a pimp. And the idea of her even having a snowball's chance in hell as president is totally laughable. Sorry, libs. 8 years. You blew it again.
Gavin, it's incredible. As I refresh my memory, her own biography says she was a teen prostitute. Well, that I'm sure fits right in Hollywood. You've got her sticking her tongue in Harvey Weinstein's ear, all over him, kissing him. Reports in the news, but of Weinstein and a bunch of hot young chicks with her arm in arm going into rooms. I mean, she is a maniac. And then you've got British starlets and others saying that she would lure women in and that Weinstein would say, meet Oprah, and then they would basically just pile on top here. I mean, she's not going to disavow Weinstein, as Paul Watson wants in his new petition, because she's probably a bigger deviant than Weinstein, who then goes to the Golden Globes and lectures us about how all men are pigs and bad. I mean, this woman is the ultimate hypocrite.
Yeah, she gets raped by her black cousin, allegedly, and decides to pin the blame on white men and Trump. It's like she uses her rape as a flamethrower and just directs it at anyone she doesn't like. If her flight is late, it was my rape. It really trivializes the genuine.
You get a rape. You're a rapist. You're a rapist. You're a rapist.
You get to be a rapist. You get to be a rapist. She's corrupt, and she's on the surface. You go, oh, successful black woman, smart, articulate, empowering. She delivers a good speech, president. Because as David Brooks pointed out in the Times today, there's a Potemkin village mentality with the left, and they just go Trump, evil, bad man. Black lady, good lady, and they don't go deeper than that. Like, they don't go, who is this person? And with the White House, they don't go beyond the Potemkin village, and they don't look at unprecedented black unemployment, 2 million new jobs, Dow records broken every day, ISIS on the run. They ignore all of that, all of these global victories, this draining the swamp, and they just go, he made a rude joke in a bus, and that woman's black.
Gavin, what's even worse, and I totally agree with you, you're causing me to have all these things I'm remembering about Oprah, but just the other night at the Golden Globes, they cut to Meryl Streep, and they're all shaking their heads yes about how evil men are and have tears in their eyes. This is a woman that does standing ovations at the peak of the controversy 6 years ago when they wanted to let Roman Polanski off for kidnapping and raping a 13-year-old girl till she reportedly anally bled everywhere. I'm not trying to be gross, but he raped a little girl. And while reportedly another big movie star was there. And, oh, that's just breaking. The police have announced he can come back. The charges are dropped, even though he confessed to it and everything. And he was convicted and ran off. No future charges because Polanski, the statute of limitations is over. So meanwhile, you've got Meryl Streep saying that Richard Dreyfuss, when she agreed to do the stunt, slapped her too hard in an Academy Award-winning movie. I mean, the slap's famous. I mean, it's real. That's what you do in acting. I've been in stunts and stuff and got bloodied up. I said, I agree to do it. They said, you want a stunt man to do this? If not, you got to drop your knees to the ground. You got to get drugged by the police. They're going to throw you in there. And I got bloodied up. Wasn't even that big a stunt. The point is that she goes, oh, Richard Dreyfuss slapped me too hard. Oh, I'm traumatized. When she is literally, like Oprah, running around, covering up and pimping for predators.
Look, we know what time's up means. It means I knew, we all knew, we let it go, but now the jig is up and everyone can see the casting couch. So starting today, we're not going to popularize it anymore. We're not going to ignore it. Ooh, how brave. You let 1,000 rapes go under the radar, and starting today, you say time's up. You're not going to allow rape anymore because it went public? Wow, what a crusader for justice you are. We're so impressed, you feminists.
Oh, the left, the Huffington Post really attacked when I said, young girls think they're going to be movie stars. They get on a bus, they get off. Even the big casting companies are a front for porn, and they just say, you're not going to be in movies, but you can be a star here. And then they end up not even paying them. Then they drug them up and use them for prostitution. And this is the admission. And then the media, the left, attacked me saying it was a conspiracy theory because they don't want young girls to know the most miserable place on earth, or young men as well, is Hollywood. You want to get raped? You want to get abused? You want to get killed? Go to Hollywood.
And we all feel that way. When we see kids on TV, when we see kids in movies, we go, oh, that's sad. Some parents don't love them. Some parents want to force their kids to to absolve themselves of a childhood and go make the family money by being a star, like the Phoenixes. The Phoenix's mother forcing those poor kids. Juan Phoenix didn't want his kids to get involved in that. He wanted them to live in Costa Rica and have a fun life. But no, they got to get into Hollywood. So you get raped once in a while. We're all going to be rich. And it's the same when you see these women in movies. You think, wow, you want to be famous and rich so bad you're willing to prostitute yourself. They're all just very high-paid sex workers, and it is brutally sad. And I loved watching the Golden Globes the other night, because for the first time ever, America can see these people through our eyes, which is these are all disgusting, greedy whores.
That's right. And literally, Oprah Winfrey is known for luring women into Harvey Weinstein, and then she's going to lecture us. Because, again, she had the talent. She is talented. She's a great liar. She has a lot of charisma. But other than that, it doesn't just take talent. You know how she worked her way up right through the whole power chain. She fit right in.
She's a pimp, and Harvey Weinstein is the biggest paying John in the history of Hollywood, but neither of those two are unique. That is the culture of Hollywood. That's why the term casting couch exists.
Oprah Winfrey sticking her filthy tongue in the filthy ear of Harvey Weinstein, and then lecturing us about racism when she's worth $3 billion, the highest paid entertainer in the world. We'll be back with Gavin McInnes. I'm Alex Jones, newswars.com, prisonplanet.tv. Stay with us, spread those links, spread the live links right now. It's an act of resistance. I'm Alex Jones, your host. Gavin McInnes, founder of Vice, comedian, filmmaker, is with us. He's on CRTV.com. A lot of people ask me, you know, why are you promoting CRTV that's got the Duck Dynasty guys and all these other shows on it when it's directly competing with you? It's not competing with me. I wish Mark Levin, all those people, the best. They've got a nice lineup of people. They do a good job. Some of it's pretty racy. That's, you know, fine, different strokes for different folks. We're in a war against globalists that want to totally control our lives. And the left knows how to unify to take over countries. We have to unify at least ideologically. Now, that's one question I've got. Then we'll get some other subjects. I knew about problems with Bannon, not just from Roger Stone, who just said, oh, he's horrible, bad news, but I just don't want to infight either. And this is going back during the campaign. I knew about all the stuff. I know some of the stuff Wolf says is true, some of it isn't. But not just from Stone. I have a lot of other sources, I mean, and I'll leave it at that. We're not just talking about your normal political sources. I'll put it to you that way. Bannon was behind the whole deal with the mafia dossier, but that was pure bull, so it didn't go anywhere. With Ted Cruz. So Bannon knew he was beaten about 8 months out from the campaign, and that's when he went total Trump, and then they got him in there. And it just looks like he's not an evil guy. He's just a total opportunist. And people like Steve Miller are great. But when I talk about infighting, I see other talk show hosts, people in the news going, well, we're not like that fringe Drudge or the fringe InfoWars. It was some mainline conservative group saying that wasn't even important. I saw it in a couple places where they want to go, we're establishment Republicans. Don't they get in this time and place in history, being a libertarian, being a patriot, it's just about common sense. That's what people want. It's uncool to be seen as the establishment. It's uncool to be toadying, trying to get into the White House or trying to be, you know, part of the in crowd. I don't need to go be in the in crowd. I built the info war in Austin, Texas. We have the most viewers. We have the most listeners after Drudge. I hope Drudge gets 5 times bigger. I'm not like going, oh, one day I'll be bigger than Drudge. You know how dangerous that is? I want to see CRTV take off, which it is taking off. I want to see it huge. And I want to, and I did the same thing to my own detriment and the country's detriment. I waited too long on Bannon because I just hoped he'd pull up. I know it's terrible stuff. And if he wants to play around with me or something, that's fine too. I'll get nasty like I did with Glenn Beck. The point is that how do you weigh that and all that? You got to do the full hour now because I got other questions for you, Gavin. We only got like 7 minutes left in this segment. How do you weigh that? Because notice you're not an infighter either. But everybody else wants to be like we're in high school again, you know, trying to be, you know, the cool kids. The cool kids in high school weren't at high school at prom. They were hanging out with, 25-year-old women whose husbands were out of town. I mean, they just don't even get it. We don't want to be in their club. What's your take on that?
Well, the left has too much unity. They will take any rapist, pedophile, any racist BLM who wants to kill white people, any jihadist, Linda Sarsour, Sharia law lover who wants women as second-class citizens and hates gays. They'll take anyone who contradicts their entire ethos as long as it gets their numbers up, as long as they have mutual enemies. But we here on the right, we have the opposite problem. And we can't wait to disavow. And we got the never-Trumpers and the neocons and the paleocons and the libertarians and the new right and the alt-right and the alt-light. And they all hate each other's guts. And maybe it's because I kind of come from the left, but I don't like that. I want unity. And when Steve Bannon came out and said that all these things about Russia collusion, God, it was just, I just prayed for it not to be true. And his defense seemed semi-reasonable. He said, no, I was just saying that Russians are bad people. But it took him forever to say that. And I just thought, oh, great. Just give the
He brought Wolf in. He protected him. And then he was the leaker. Did you feel like you got punched in the stomach when he wouldn't disavow for like 4 or 5 days?
It did. I just saw Bannon at Horowitz's Freedom Weekend, the Restoration Weekend, and he got up there on the podium. He did a bunch of different speeches that weekend, and he talked about how Trump is a man of the people, and he talked about how stupid the media is, and how evil and incompetent they are, and how Trump's a rock star and he's a hero. And I thought, finally, we have someone who understands Trump. And then a few days later, Mr. Two Dress Shirts at Once can't wait to tell us how incompetent he is. And it's just, like, keep it to yourself. This isn't the way it works. I was talking to Stone about this.
He was trying to have his cake and eat it too. Look, it's all strategic, and I have the inside baseball. I just want to put a final nail in this guy so he doesn't come back like the plague, come back like herpes. I'm not going to say it. The point is, he strategically to his own audience sounds like the best thing ever, basically lifting what I say and other patriots say. I'm just saying. Which is fine for people to do that word for word, but then don't stab us in the back. Because I want to write the talking points for the big takeover and the victory, and we're starting to do it, restoring things. But then to the other audiences, he does what he wants there to play the Machiavellian game. And there's not room for Machiavellian crap. The straight-on, straight-shooting attack is the way to win.
Yep, and these lies run sprints, the truth runs marathons, and look at how many failed attempts the left has had. This Michael, what's his name, Wolf book will be done in a couple days. We'll realize how much of it was not true. We already lost Russia. We've gone through the sexual allegations. We've gone through the show us your tax records. We've been through so many week-long hypes, and they just let that go and jump onto the next one. And they're showing themselves for what they are, a crazy ex-girlfriend who had too many gin and tonics and wants to burn your house down. The left has become Left Eye Lopez, and they're about to die.
You're absolutely right. And the only reason I brought up Bannon is because I, just like you, that's why I like you. You never infight, and I never do. It's just that when do you finally denounce somebody? Because I love Breitbart. They do great work. Do you think Bannon can actually stay there and not cripple it?
Yes, I mean, I've heard talk that they're going to focus on Pence now and be less supportive of Trump. I'll abandon Breitbart when they abandon Trump or they abandon the truth. But I'm just kind of dropping the Bannon thing and saying, well, that's disappointing. Let's move on.
Well, let me give you this last piece of intel. This last piece of intel. I was told by multiple high-level political operatives who've never steered me wrong that Bannon brought in the generals, brought in the 25th Amendment deal, and actually had this plan to come out now, even if he was in the White House or not, to make the 25th Amendment move on the president. But he's so strong and beaten all the Russiagates that Bannon hedged his bet with all this, thinking he'd be protected with what he said in that book. And I was told this 6 months ago.
Wow. So Bannon was crapping on Trump so that when Trump gets impeached or Trump gets kicked out, Bannon could say, I told you so. I never really liked that guy.
Yeah, and exactly now the word is Breitbart's going to go against Trump and be pro-Pence. That is outrageous. That makes me sick.
That's the problem with the right. We get into this high school stuff. I saw this at Fox News in the green room with stabbing the back of young conservatives because they were young whippersnappers and they didn't deserve to be here. They didn't deserve their place. I love Crowder and Shapiro and Andrew Klavan. I love lots of little never-Trumpers. As long as you're not an alt-right Nazi, you want less government? Come on in. Let's dismantle the government.
And when they lost, they got on board, admitted they were wrong, and are now cheerleading America's Renaissance.
I don't know what the solution is. I think the solution is, as you say, just more content, more talking, more truth getting out there. You know, your model with this CRTV isn't competing with me is the same as the free market model, which is there isn't a finite amount of pizza. There's not one pizza.
You guys are going to wake people up that come to me. I'm going to wake up people that come to you when they try to censor us. Our answers grow, get big, get all over TV. I hope you get on every TV station in the country. I'm going to subscribe to it. Exactly. We've got to grow to beat the enemy.
There's not a finite number of slices of the pie. There's infinite pies. And similarly, there's infinite information out there. There's infinite truth. There's infinite conspiracies. There's infinite lies out there. And we have to get our numbers up to fight all these, to win.
Non-zero sum game. One more segment to get into the other topics you want to cover. This is the best interview ever with Gavin McInnes. I'm Alex Jones, and I just feel so good the truth has been told here. CRTV.com, newswars.com. Spread those links. We'll be back. You know, I've really thought about revealing this for a while, and I'm going to go ahead and line up some guests if they're willing to come on about it. But I've got several sources that told me 8 months ago, 6 months ago, exactly what was going on. And now that I've been just talked about it 10 minutes ago, my phone's blowing up. But they told me Bannon and Pence are planning a 25th Amendment purge of the president. They've brought in these generals, at least 2 of them are bad, and they're working with the deep state to then develop this program to remove him via the 25th Amendment if the Russia thing doesn't work. And then they added the information that, again, Trump was unaware that Bannon was bringing in people to prepare these stories for takedown and books. And then literally this all happened, and now the proof's even more intense. Bannon has now got Breitbart saying they're going to go for Pence and stop supporting Trump. I mean, it's so obvious what's happening. And then communist Chinese connected money is flowing into Breitbart. I don't want to attack Breitbart. But if Breitbart attacks America's recovery, we're coming for you politically. Good Lord, I am sick of the incredible level of treachery. Now, our final segment with Gavin McInnes, and he's got several big stories he wants to get into because you've got this world department store chain. Tell us about this latest controversy that's breaking right now at Infowars.com, and it's also on DrudgeReport.com.
So H&M, a huge chain, $18 billion corporation, they have this innocuous little sweatshirt for kids. It says the kookiest monkey in the jungle or something like that. Coolest monkey in the jungle. And the model for it happened to be a black kid. So they obviously didn't see any correlation because it's not 1920s America and we're not a bunch of blind hillbillies that have never seen a black person before. So they just said, yeah, that sounds good, assuming the parents who put the kid in the shirt also thought the same, but these race-obsessed, myopic losers go, well, that's clearly racist. A giant corporation is trying to call black people monkeys, and what they do is they bring these ghosts of the past, these racist Klansmen from the past, and they inject it into modern society and make racism where there was none. So now H&M is on the defense, essentially apologizing for not being racist because they didn't notice. And we've got, you know, pop stars like The Weeknd and now Nicki Minaj having to distance themselves from something that is clearly not racist. I mean, imagine it was Halloween, right? And these little kids show up and they're dressed as animals, and there's a white kid dressed as a monkey and a black kid dressed as a monkey. And you said to the black kid dressed as a monkey, whoa, 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 and then looked at the parents and said, what are you doing there?
That's the racism. If I saw an ad with a black kid with that shirt, I'd say that's a cool shirt. Again, my children, multiple ones, have had the Curious George bathrobes because, you know, when they're little toddlers, they like to put it on and makes it fun if they take a bath or whatever. They run around the house in it, and they've been octopuses, they've been monkeys. I mean, who would even think like this?
No more monkeys jumping on the bed. Ring any bells? Kids act like monkeys. They jump around. Black kids and white kids and Asian kids act like monkeys.
My 8.5-month-old daughter's favorite toy is a Curious George monkey, and I act like a monkey with it, and I'm teaching her how to make monkey sounds.
They just are. The demand for racism is so high.
Well, babies look like little monkeys to begin with.
There's no racism there, so they have to drag it from the past.
We are primates. We are. I mean, you know, we are in the ape family. Listen to the scientist. I mean, I guess we are actually monkeys.
Look, 50 Cent calls his crew G-Unit. Bathing Ape is one of the most popular clothing lines in the hip-hop community. Who cares Why are you making everything about 1930s? I know why. Because this entire industry is based on the myth that America is a racist, sexist, homophobic, transphobic, blah, blah, blah. But there's no examples of it. So they go, well, let's just make that into an example so I have more fodder to complain.
Gavin, they know what they're doing, too. LeBron James, worth hundreds of millions of dollars, bitching about racist white people everywhere, who are the majority of his fans. The NFL has lost 20, 30, 40%, depending on the week of their viewers. It's all falling apart. And they just keep pushing, keep pushing, keep pushing. And I've heard the football players go, well, I don't care. I got an $89 million contract with 5 more years left. I don't care if the NFL goes under, because I'll have mine. I mean, this is incredible.
By the way, LeBron James, there was a propaganda poster in World War II that had a big ape holding a woman, and he's wearing a Kaiser helmet. It says, defeat the brute, and he's holding this woman like King Kong with a big club. And then LeBron James did a parody of it on the cover of Vogue, where he's holding Gisele Bündchen going, ah, in the exact same way. But then he decides, no, I'm going to pillory H&M because that's the hot thing to do. And it just shows, you know what they are? You know what Americans in general have become, especially the rich? A big pile of ingrates. You got these NHL players literally getting away with murder in some cases, and they're dropping a knee because they hate America so much, because they came from nothing and now they're millionaires, and they're getting all these charges dropped, all these gun charges dropped, all these rape charges dropped in the NBA, and they can't wait to complain about how horrible America is. As a Canadian immigrant, as someone who came here in the 90s, I'm just incredibly grateful that I get to live in the freest country in the world, where the free market can reign supreme, and the people who benefit from it can't wait to bitch.
That's because they want to shut it down for us. They're directed by the globalists. They know what they're doing. It's completely cold-blooded. Here is Trump at the championship college game between Georgia and Alabama, getting a standing ovation by 70-plus thousand fans in a packed attendance. The media didn't even pick up on this. But then hundreds of stories about a couple hundred people outside that were bussed in, booing in the rain. So let's go ahead and play what really happened. This should be in the president's fake news awards coming up in 7 days. He should play what really happened. And then, of course, the big fake news award is that no one was inside. CNN showed right as they opened the gates on Inauguration Day last year. The president should do that and then show it was actually a packed crowd from the CNN photo from behind him. You can actually see me there right up at the front. That's crazy. But they show you no one there, and then here it is jam-packed, record crowd. Again, for the fake news awards, the nomination goes to the media, CNN, saying that the president was booed when this happened. And that's right after they announce him. Can we back it up when they announce his name? Yeah, let's back up to the beginning. I know there's like 5 minutes of them cheering him, but here it is, folks. This is what happened.
Welcome, members of the ROTC units from the University of Georgia and the University of Alabama, joined by our President, Donald J. Trump.
Oh, Donald J. Trump. It goes up 6, 7 times in octave. Okay, ROTC. The Elvis Presley in 1956. They're throwing their panties at him. Okay, now let's go to the next one. The news didn't show this anywhere. This is all over the place. The president booed at the game. CNN. No, not at the game. Outside in the rain. Here it is. And the award for greatest fake news goes to CNN for reporting that he was booed at the event. No, outside a small crowd, but sounds like maybe 50 people out of the 200 million. Boo, boo. Why'd I get bussed here? Boo, boo. All right, Gavin McInnes. I mean, boy, how great is this award show the president's going to do? Fireside chat. You want to talk about the tweets, the fireside chat. How dare them talk about taking his Twitter away so he can communicate with us? You wanted to close up with that.
Well, that was a big turning point for me during the election. I was worried because I read the polls and I read the New York Times and I go, uh-oh, it's not looking good for our guy. Then in Florida, he just takes out his phone and he just goes like this. And you're looking at the Rolling Stones in Rio. I mean, there are 100, 200,000 people, just a sea of people. It looks like an ocean of Skittles, just all these humans out there. And you go, wait a minute, I don't think we're getting the full story. And that's why I love his Twitter. 90% of the stories about him this summer were negative, 90%. So the press is taking everything he says and spinning it. And Trump has figured out a way to jump over the mainstream media and just talk to us like we're buddies. I'm like really smart, a very stable genius. Yeah, good. I want to hear that he's had enough of Pakistan.
By the way, it is genius to run, if you never run for office and win the presidency against all odds.
Try it. Try it if it's so easy, guys. I love hearing that he's had enough of Pakistan, that he's withdrawing $285 million from the UN. You know, Obama says he's drawing a line in the sand with Syria. Trump actually
North Korea's coming to the table.
Punishes them.
North Korea's coming to the table.
You need to slap a wrist when someone talks a big game. Obama let Syria walk all over him. Then Kim Jong-un starts talking trash about Trump, and he just slaps him down again. We need a whack-a-mole president because we've got too many ingrates out there.
You're absolutely right. All right. CRTV.com, Gavin McInnes. I love coming on your show. I love the fact you have Paul on. You're welcome to have all our crew on. We want to have you back on and all the other folks from CRTV. Keep it up. And how do folks get one of those handsome coffee cups? I want one of those.
Go to CRTV.com right now and sign up, and you get $10 off and a free mug with my mug on it.
All right. And, folks, they didn't get rid of the free shipping at InfoWarsStore.com, but a lot of the sales have ended. But we appreciate your support as well. And we have coffee mugs at InfoWarsStore.com. But whatever you do, spread the live links. Okay, I'll introduce Paul Watson with huge breaking news. And hour number 4 straight ahead. Please spread the live links at the local station you're listening to. We're in an info war, and you are the front line. All right, linked up on Drudge on the left-hand side. Wolf, that's the charlatan of charlatans, admits didn't interview any White House cabinet officials for book, but we have the clips, and they even found it, just not me even asking. We're going to play that at the start of the next segment that Paul Watts is taking over. We have the clip of him saying, oh, I interviewed the president. Well, no, he never even saw the president. Bannon would sneak him in the back door. And people are like, what in the... Gorka's like, what are you doing letting this guy in? They use that like, oh, Gorka admits they knew he was there. Yeah, because Bannon told Gorka. And by the way, I don't trust anybody Bannon brought in now. Okay, I know his Gorka was like posing in like hundreds of photos of him shooting guns, and I don't like that Alex Jones. And the big thing is, I'm not going to go down to their level. It's just that, dude, all you guys are nobodies that hijacked a movement that George Washington right through to Matt Drudge and Alex Jones and Paul Joseph Watson and our listeners built. We are the info war. We are the future. And you guys have been caught hijacking things. Paul Watson, I'm going to host with you a few minutes. It's great to have you on twice today. Everybody loves you. Gavin McInnes was on fire earlier. But I don't want to get into infighting, but I'm not going to sit on huge, big things anymore just because I don't want to be an infighter. I'm going to go ahead and see if I can get the people on who knew the backstory about Bannon, because he now, I guess, wants to go after Trump and support Pence. That's exactly what I was told, that the generals were brought in, Pence was working with them, and that they're looking at a 25th Amendment deal as their backup, you know, if something happens to the president, and that none of them ever leave town at the same time, you know, because, oh, they got to be there to babysit and all this other arrogant crap these guys talk about. Same thing we see all the time. And that they had this book time for right now when they were going to be moving with the Russia stuff and the 25th Amendment, but all that's hit a dud now. And Bannon thought they'd launch this, that they would then be taking Trump out now this year with his triggering, but instead it blew up in his face like every other attempt. And I was told that was the plan. And I was told stuff that was in Wolf's book, but twisted, now that I've had a chance to read the book. And I just cannot believe how good these sources are. So what do we do about this? What do we do about this?
The book itself is, I mean, everybody's going to have forgotten about it in a week's time. The 25th Amendment's never going to happen. You need 2/3 of the Congress and the Senate and the vice president to, and most of Trump's cabinet to mutiny on him. It's never going to happen. And like I said in the video, there's more chance of Hillary Clinton representing America in ice skating at the next Winter Olympics. Not going to happen. Just again underscores their complete desperation and their complete hypocrisy. You had Brian Stelter, your favorite CNN host, Alex, who in 2016, over and over again, reckless conspiracy theories. How dare you even discuss Hillary Clinton's health? He's up there 2 days ago saying it's incumbent upon every serious journalist to ask questions about Trump's health. Even though this guy's basically a fraud, he's got no direct access. He's made up stuff in the past. You can't even get this book edited properly before it's published. It's complete baloney. And as I said in the video, Trump's not insane. You're insane. We're talking about people who literally start taking medication because they're triggered by Trump's tweets. And I include examples of that in the video.
And by the way,
they've been driven insane by Trump, and it's projection. They're pointing the finger at Trump because that's all they've got left. They're scraping the barrel, and it's pathetic.
Well, that's right. And, you know, they're saying I'm mentally ill. The young turds are that deny the Armenian genocide, get Islamic funding out of Gulf dictatorships. They're saying I'm insane. I mean, a lot of that was tongue-in-cheek I said about Stelter. I'm just saying that photo of him with that smile, does he not look like the creepiest person you've ever seen? Like creepy Kane or creepy, I mean, Wolf and this guy look so creepy. And then they said, I said it on a bunch of shows because they're Jewish. I didn't even know if Stelter was Jewish. Then I looked it up, he wasn't. It's total insanity.
He's definitely a soy boy by the looks of it, but that's neither here nor there. The Yale psychiatry professor, though, Alex, her big evidence for Trump being insane was that CNN tweet from 6 months ago. Like, that's all they've got. That's their big evidence. It's absolutely pathetic.
Well, in my rant, I said Hillary looks evil, this guy looks evil, and so does Wolf. They cut all that out and then say, being ugly's code for Jewish. And they're the ones injecting all this race stuff. It's crazy. Now, I got to be careful here because what mainstream corporate whore media does, funded by George Soros, Media Matters and others, they put out the talking points for the rest of the prostitute media to repeat, is I'll do big breakdowns with articles, videos, proof, mainstream news. And then later, hours later, I'll just mention what we already covered, and they'll grab that clip, edit it together, and say, Jones attacks Oprah Winfrey in a homophobic rant claiming she's a lesbian. No, I said, nothing against her that she likes women. I'm not going to judge people. I'm a Christian, but I'm a libertarian. Why is she closeted about it? And she was admittedly a child prostitute and then brought women to Weinstein, has been seen with women with Weinstein, sticking her tongue in his ear, doing all of this stuff. And you have major actresses saying that she lured them there for Weinstein. And this is what she's known for, ladies and gentlemen. And so they then spin that into Alex Jones hates lesbians. It's like I did a report off a Discovery Channel show where there's the phenomenon where they're creating new acronyms, hundreds of them, where people have sex with appliances and cars. And I was tying it into sex with robots. Why would you want to have sex with a rubber mannequin? But I said, I guess there's these big fetishes where you catch a guy in your garage, you know, having sex with a tailpipe. They spun that and said, Jones in an anti-gay rant says gay men will rape your car. And I had a guy on the street say, man, I saw an article in my Yahoo feed that you say gay guys are going to rape our cars, Alex. You know, not all us gay guys are, you know, liberals, and I don't appreciate that. I've been a listener. And I went, did you see me say that? He goes, well, no, but I said, yeah, it's lie, okay? I mean, I don't have to sit here and prostrate myself either, or sit here and basically lay down on my belly because it doesn't even matter. I don't hate anybody as long as they don't hurt somebody else. But you've got major H&M World store being boycotted because they showed a black young man wearing a shirt that says monkey on it. Just like, let's ban the name of this hall because it says Lynch. The last name's Lynch, but don't get rid of Loretta Lynch. And then all these stars and people are leaving, and they're so mad at their sponsorship when it's the opposite of racism to have a shirt that says coolest monkey in the jungle. When everybody gets apparel for their kids, it says they're a monkey. That's one of the most common things other than T-Rexes. Paul Watson, you want to comment on the whole Oprah Winfrey thing and her up there pontificating to everybody in our face, telling us what to think, telling us what to do, telling us how we're bad to women, declaring a war on men and how she's going to fight Trump. And then she's virtue signaling to Meryl Streep that, you know, defends pedophilia and the rape of young girls, literally. You cannot make up how ridiculous this is, and that's why Trump said, oh, I don't think she's going to be running. No, I know her real well. I don't think she wants that. He's saying, lady, you got more skeletons in your closet than a mausoleum. Paul Watson, what are they thinking?
Well, that was a bang average speech to begin with. Just because you've got a bunch of out-of-touch celebrities with crocodile tears in their eyes boo-hooing over it doesn't make it good. In fact, there was a tweet that somebody put out, I think this encapsulates the situation. It says, only Hollywood would treat getting caught enabling and engaging in nearly systematic sexual abuse as the perfect occasion to lecture the rest of us on the issue. And that's exactly what she gets up there and virtue signals in front of all those other celebrities who were in on it, who covered up for him for years. And she's the big moral guardian of the sexual abuse of women. Absolutely incredible. Now you've got this messianic insanity that we saw with Barack Obama, you know, our Lord and Savior, Barack Obama. Van Jones came out on CNN and called Oprah the queen of the universe. She's like literally walking on water and healing cancer now, Alex, just because of that one 9-minute speech where she said, oh, yeah, sexual assault of women is bad. She's the new Jesus right now. He went on Anderson Cooper and said she's the queen of the universe. They can try and get that clip later if you want. So we're starting to see this messianic call because the Democrats have got absolutely no one else on the bench whatsoever. They're going all in with Oprah, even though now some of her closest friends are saying she's probably not going to run at all.
And it's okay. It's okay.
Hypocrisy on top of that.
It's okay that she was a streetwalker. It's not okay that she did it as a young teenager. But the fact that she's known and she's been accused by prominent people, and there's photos of her bringing actresses to Weinstein so he can jump on her, and then she reportedly hangs out with him, sticks her tongue in his ear, and that they've got some type of weird relationship. And they've been seen in Hollywood disappearing off into alcoves with a couple chicks. I mean, as long as it's consensual, that's their issue. But lecturing us when she's basically, according to many, pimping people directly to the Hollywood elite because they think, oh, it must be safe. Oprah's going to lead me in there. What do you think, Paul?
Well, the other issue is she got up in front of this Golden Globes, which is owned and hosted and run by the Hollywood Foreign Press Association, which is a collection of journalists who only write about Hollywood issues. What did they write about the sexual abuse scandal that was well known in Hollywood for the past 20 years? Absolutely nothing whatsoever. Yet they're the big moral guardians of it all now. It's incredible how they've turned this round, and now they're just blaming like all men or all white men. When it's their problem, they covered it up. The cancer's within Hollywood, and they're turning it around on us and saying that we're responsible for it. Absolutely incredible. You know, you had like Ben Affleck, Matt Damon. They knew about it in the 90s. She was hanging around with Weinstein as late as 2014, probably after that, Oprah Winfrey. Very, very cozy with him as well, as you can see from the pictures. People knew about it in the early 2000s. People knew about it in the late 90s. You have Meryl Streep getting up in 2012 and calling Harvey Weinstein God, the Punisher, while she, you know, applauds literally a pedophile who raped a 13-year-old
who, by the way, L.A. just announced, even though he's an admitted child rapist, statute of limitations, he can come back after raping the little kidnapped little girl anally till she bled everywhere. Sorry to give you details, but that's what he did. It's not just statutory rape. They raped her, drugged her and raped her, reportedly other men, but they never went after them. Some very well-known people that look quite devilish, strangely enough, in the face. But people that play devils would do such a thing. So we've got all that going on. Since you mentioned it, there's so many clips of her standing ovations right in the middle of controversy for him, her saying he did nothing wrong, bringing back. There's a lot of these clips. Here's one of Meryl Streep defending a child kidnapper and anal raper. Here it is.
Goes to Roman Polanski for the pianist.
Yeah, that's her standing ovation. There's another one where she says, let him go, he's a good guy. And then Harrison Ford, what an idiot. These people are sick. Martin Scorsese's an idiot, even though he's a good director. Jack Nicholson, no wonder he's standing up. Yeah, yeah, old Jack, I bet you do. Yeah, I bet you really do stand up there, buddy. And you got Weinstein rubbing his belly. Back up to the last segment. So there's Meryl Streep, but there's another one where she's on she's on a film show. Paul, you've seen this where she openly defends him.
Yeah, that was 6 years after the one that you just watched. So that was during the Oscars.
Yeah, we've got it. We've got it. They found it. Here it is. Let's play Meryl Streep just gushing over a child rapist. Here it is.
Yes, Roman Polanski. I'm very sorry that he's in jail.
Oh, he dies.
Goes to Roman Polanski.
And by the way, until everybody made a big deal about it, they didn't even arrest him in Europe for reportedly stuff. Paul, I mean, where is this all going with these sickos lecturing us? Meryl Streep says Richard Dreyfuss slapped her too hard in a scene, and now she's a victim. Well, I bet that little girl got hurt pretty bad by those dogs lining up and gang raping her.
She's also making the Katharine Graham film with Steven Spielberg, isn't she? She's still fronting herself as this icon of feminism. That clip that you just played, that was when he was arrested again in Switzerland for raping a 13-year-old girl, 6 years after she stood up and applauded him. Absolutely incredible. They had 100 Hollywood figures sign a petition, top Hollywood figures demanding his release, after everybody knew what he did, like decades afterwards. Oh, but now they're the big moral guardians on the sexual abuse of girls and young women. He can't even get back into the United States without being arrested. They never disavowed him. Meryl Streep never disavowed him. Now you've got all these new people coming out who say that he raped them when girls were 15. Renate Langer, the actress, German actress. Another British woman called Robin N., an actress that accused Polanski
Paul,
of
you're
raping her when
taking
she
over
was
right
16.
now. They're getting you that clip where they say Oprah's a god. A lot of the people that are into pedophilia were abused themselves, and a lot of the girls that were, they then become the Renfields to the men. And a lot of evidence shows Meryl Streep and Oprah Winfrey are just that. That's right. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. We'll be back with Paul Watson.
We're live. It is Tuesday, January 9th edition of the Alex Jones Show, 4th hour. We're talking about, of course, the big story of the week so far. Oprah Winfrey. Variety reports Gayle King, Oprah Winfrey, not considering 2020 bid, but is intrigued by the idea. CBS This Morning host Gayle King said she does not think that her best friend, Oprah Winfrey, has changed her mind about running for president. Publicly, she has dismissed the idea. King said she talked to Winfrey on Monday after a day of speculation about her intentions. The response was so great it generated talk in traditional social media. Of course, everybody exploded in deity-like worship, as we're going to play here in a second. But Winfrey's best friend went on to say, quote, "I absolutely don't think her position has changed. I was up talking to her late last night. I do think she was intrigued by the idea. I do think that basically she doesn't really know. But it looks like Winfrey's not going to run at this time. Obviously, if she gets drafted by the amount of hysteria and messianic fervor that we've seen from the left over the last 24, 48 hours, she may not have a choice. Van Jones has come out on CNN and basically said that she's the queen of the universe and can do no wrong. Maybe she's going to walk on water and cure cancer. We've got that clip from CNN. Here it is.
Van, as you consider this possibility, what do you see? I mean, obviously, people would have said Donald Trump could have never been president, and he's president.
Well, the question is, does she want to be demoted from queen of the universe to president of the United States? That's the only question. If she wants to do it, she can do it. She is probably the most beloved human being on Earth. She's probably the most beloved carbon-based life form on Earth. If she runs, she will destroy anybody in front of her. The question is, does she want to do it? I've talked to a lot of people who are close to her, who are around her. There's basically, bedlam in Oprah land right now as people, people are begging her, please run, please run, please run. But she's given no indication that she has moved off of her position, that she doesn't want to do it. I will say that speech last night was extraordinary. That speech, she did in 9 minutes what Barack Obama did in 17 minutes in 2004.
All right, we'll leave it there. That is Van Jones worshipping Oprah Winfrey. The queen of the universe can do no wrong. She gave an astounding speech. No, she didn't. She gave a bang average speech, let's be honest. What kind of bravery does it take to get up in front of a bunch of people who are guilty of the very thing that you're lecturing everyone else about? Covering up the sex abuse scandal for 20-plus years. Now, does this mean that Oprah Winfrey hasn't got a shot at becoming president? No, it doesn't. She's got a very good shot, given that the Democrats have virtually nobody else to even take on Trump. Breitbart reports election betting odds place Oprah 2020 ahead of every Democrat. When it comes to predicting who will be president, electionbettingodds.com shows that actual people betting actual money in this category put Oprah Winfrey at the top of the Democratic heap. She's got 8.5% on this betting website, which places her above Senator Kamala Harris, Elizabeth Warren, Bernie Sanders, Michelle Obama, Joe Biden, all of them. Oprah is right at the top. Hillary Clinton still at 1.6%. She just won't seem to go away like a turd that won't flush. But Oprah Winfrey, according to the betting odds website, is the preferred candidate for Democrats, the most likely candidate as it appears in the run-up to the 2020 election. Now, some Republicans are out warning that she's going to be a very strong candidate. Sonny Johnson says if Oprah combines the economic message with culture, GOP won't have a chance in hell in 2020. Republicans and the broader conservative movement must not underestimate the political potential of Oprah Winfrey as a Democrat presidential contender in 2020. Breitbart's Sonny Johnson went on to say Republicans are not going to have a chance in hell of defeating Winfrey as a presidential candidate in 2020 if the talk show celebrity successfully fuses an economic message with her cultural powerhouse assets, said Johnson. Now, of course, if you take the content, the largesse of her content from the speech on Sunday night, that's not what she's going to do. She's going to ramble on about identity politics, the #1 losing issue for Democrats, as was proven in 2016. And of course, they're so wedded to that ideology of identity politics, dividing people based on race, gender, and class, that they're going to hold her to it and they're going to force her to have that message, which means she's not going to have the wider cultural message, the wider economic message that Trump was able to tap into to win the presidency. So again, it's one issue if she runs, it's another if she actually has the right message to unify American people around voting for her, because she didn't send a very unifying message in a 2013 interview with the BBC, and we've got this clip here that we can play in a second, where she told an interviewer that basically to solve racism, we need more racism and we need old white people to die out. She actually said, she was obviously speaking about older white people. On Twitter say, oh, she didn't specifically say white people. She's obviously talking about white people. Context. She said they just have to die. That's a direct quote. Let's go to that clip. Oprah Winfrey in 2013. Here it is.
Still, and there's a whole generation, I say this, I said this, for apartheid South Africa. I said this for my own, community in the South. There are still generations of people, older people, who were born and bred and marinated in it, in that prejudice and racism, and they just have to die.
So there's Oprah Winfrey, the great uniter. Remember, we've had like 1.5 years of the media saying that Donald Trump is dividing people down racial lines. I don't recall Donald Trump ever saying that a certain race of people, and yes, that's obviously who she was talking about, context. I don't recall Donald Trump ever saying that a certain race of people or a certain age group of people just have to die. But no, he's the great divider. Oprah Winfrey's the great uniter in their world of fake news. Imagine what veterans, people who fought in World War II, people who fought in Korea, people who fought in Vietnam, would think about such a statement. Is that a unifying message? Is that a message of presidential quality? Now, we have this petition up on Infowars.com, as I mentioned on the show earlier. Will Oprah Winfrey disavow Harvey Weinstein? She gets up at the Golden Globe, sets herself up as this, angelic moral authority against the sexual abuse of women. They all worship, they all genuflect before her, the very people who were complicit in covering it up for like 20 years, but they're the victims now, and we need to be lectured about it. She gets up in front of an event literally hosted by the Hollywood Foreign Press Association, which organizes and hosts the Golden Globes. They're the ones responsible for reporting on Hollywood. They're the ones who said absolutely nothing about this scandal for the past 20 years. But then they put on this show where they're all dressed in black. Look at us. Look at how hard we can virtue signal. There was some other actress wearing a sweater that said poverty is sexist. Nobody really knew what that meant. Turned out the sweater cost $380. Could have donated that to a homeless charity, but no. So all these out-of-touch, preening, virtue signaling hypocrites get up there, lecture everybody else about sexual abuse when they're the ones that helped cover it up by saying nothing about it for the best part of 20 years. These people have appointed themselves as the moral guardians of the Me Too movement, and it's absolutely sickening. We'll be back in the next segment of the Alex Jones Show to break it down further. Don't go away. Breaking news at Infowars.com. Before we wrap up the Oprah Winfrey news, and I'll remind you again to go and sign that petition. I think it's up to about 4,000 signatures. We need way more than that. We need it to go viral. We need like 100,000, 200,000 signatures at least So she can then ignore it, and we can say, why is she ignoring this petition for people asking her to disavow her friend, Harvey Weinstein? That's not going to look very good, is it? If she does disavow him, then fair enough, more power to her. Before we get back into that, I want to tell you about the newest supplement in the InfoWars Lifeline. It is Alpha Power. It's available right now at InfoWarsLife.com for 50% off. That's the introductory discount, 50% off. This is the brand new Vitality formula developed to help boost your performance and energy levels. Amazing 5-star reviews, independent reviews at InfoWarsStore.com. It's got the powerful ingredients, the zinc, the organic maca root concentrate, the horny goatweed, the Tribulus terrestris fruit extract, which is probably easier to make than it is to say. The Alpha Power even works synergistically with Super Male Vitality to help you become a true alpha male and take charge of your energy to defy age. Try our Super Alpha Male Combo Pack and receive 50% off each when you buy them together. It is Alpha Power. It is the exciting new product at InfoWarsStore.com. Also, I can personally recommend Brain Force Plus, which is a nootropic which helps your neurons fire better, gives you clarity of mind, helps you have a better mental performance in terms of speaking engagements, if that's the kind of thing you're into, or simply work. It is Alpha Brain Plus. It is available at InfoWarsStore.com, Brain Force Plus, I should say. Other products are out there which are quite similar, which is why it was amazing how the media took a hold of this. I think it was a couple of months ago, and they were so triggered by me making a video about it, an advertising video, which actually I made back in April, so it was really old, where I advertised the fact that I took Brain Force Plus to help me with mental clarity, and they had an absolute fit over that, even though this field, nootropics, has been popular, especially in Silicon Valley, for years and years and years. This isn't some hokey recipe that we cooked up in a basement. Like, top whiz kids and professionals take this thing, they rave about it. So we got our own product based on that idea, and it's selling like hotcakes. I mean, look at the reviews, look at the 5-star reviews that we have up on InfoWarsStore.com. It is Brain Force Plus, highly recommended by yours truly. And it not only helps you with mental clarity and acuity, it triggers the holy heck out of the left whenever I mention it. You see a headline. Actually, that's funny, because we're going to talk about the guy who wrote that story in a little while. That's out of Vice Media. They were so triggered by me holding up a bottle of Brain Force Plus and talking about it. They discovered this ad, which was made in April. It was like a 6-month-old ad. And they went absolutely ape. And that is the perfect reason why you need to get your bottle of Brain Force Plus today at InfoWarsStore.com. It's funny how we've literally monetized their liberal tears and are actually making money out of it every time they get triggered. Funny how that works, isn't it? Brain Force Plus at InfoWarsStore.com. Let's get back into the news here. We're talking about Oprah Winfrey. Talking about now some of her friends saying she's not going to run, but she finds the idea intriguing. We've got Van Jones basically saying she's queen of the universe and would crush everyone in her path if she did run. She could walk on water and cure cancer as well, presumably. But of course, we have a little reminder as to the true nature of Oprah Winfrey with this petition up on Infowars.com. Oprah must disavow Harvey Weinstein. She got up in front of a Golden Globe ceremony, which is organized and hosted by the very press association that has refused to investigate Hollywood's sex abuse scandal for the past 20 years. That's the level of hypocrisy and double standard that we're dealing with. In fact, we got a Ben Shapiro clip where he discusses this, the fact that this Hollywood Foreign Press Association has said nothing about the Weinsteins of their industry. They covered up the truth about his behavior, like the rest of the actors in Hollywood, the likes of Matt Damon, Ben Affleck. They all knew about it. They said nothing. This press association, whose only job was to report on Hollywood, also complete silence. And they're the ones hosting the Golden Globes, at which Oprah Winfrey gets up and gives this amazing speech, bang average speech, in front of all these people who agree with her. They're virtue signaling to each other, and yet they're the ones responsible for covering the whole thing up in the first place. Let's go to this Ben Shapiro clip. Here it is.
I got to let you go, but one last thing. You sort of went out on a limb today. You said you don't think she was that brave. You know, everybody on that room was up on their feet. And you said she wasn't brave last night. What did you mean?
I mean, what the hell kind of risk was she taking? She was standing in front of an entire town filled with sexual abusers and harassers. She said nothing about it for 20 years. She was being cheered by people who said nothing about it for 20 years. And there she is, pretending that she's leading the fight. In what way has she led the fight? I sort of missed it. And just because she said some stuff last night, I haven't seen how things have materially changed. I mean, Reese Witherspoon was mentioned that she measures things before Oprah and after Oprah. What changed after Oprah? Oprah said a bunch of stuff. Well, I was under the impression that most of us agreed with that stuff when this stuff first broke, and she lauded the Hollywood Foreign Press Association. Where were they reporting on the sexual harassment and abuse scandal for the last 20 years? It is literally their job to cover Hollywood, and yet it took the New Yorker and Ronan Farrow to uncover all this stuff. Where was the Hollywood Foreign Press Association that was receiving such plaudits at the hands of Oprah Winfrey? Again, a woman who is good friends with Harvey Weinstein, being cheered by Meryl Streep, a woman who's gave a standing ovation to Roman Polanski.
Yeah, but there's a circle of support that ignored everything that you just mentioned so potently. Ben, thank you very much. Great to see you tonight.
There you have it. Let's not forget the fact that TMZ also reported after the Harvey Weinstein revelations came out that Oprah called up her friend Harvey Weinstein and offered her support. After it all came out, she still offered her support, reportedly. Now, of course, the team Oprah came back and denied that, but they did acknowledge that she wanted to get Weinstein on her show for an interview. So she actually wanted to give the serial sex predator a platform to explain his side of the story, and that's the least worst of it. According to TMZ, she actually initially called him up to offer her support to the serial sex predator and her best friend, Harvey Weinstein. We've shown you the pictures. Tons and tons of pictures of her canoodling, not just posing for photographs, literally like nibbling on the earlobe of Harvey Weinstein at these Hollywood bashers over the past 3 years at least, going back probably even further, given her professional relationship with him lasted at least, I think it was 10 years stretching back. According to British actress Katie Noble, when she met Weinstein at a 2014 event in London, picture of which is in the article, which features the petition on Infowars.com, she said Oprah was swinging off his arm. Oprah was swinging off the arm of Harvey Weinstein. She said that Weinstein used Oprah to lure her in with the promise of boosting her career. Weinstein subsequently sexually assaulted Noble, according to a lawsuit which has been filed against Weinstein in a Manhattan federal court back in November. The attorney of this British actress said Harvey wasn't acting alone. Harvey wasn't allowed and enabled to do what he did to Cadian and other women without help. Now, bear in mind, Ben Affleck, Matt Damon, and others knew that Weinstein had sexually harassed Gwyneth Paltrow back in the 90s. Scott Rosenberg, the screenwriter, whose first 2 films were distributed by Harvey Weinstein's company Miramax, said, quote, everybody effing knew about Weinstein's behavior in Hollywood. Of course, we had the famous clip of Courtney Love coming out in the, I think it was the early 2000s or mid-2000s, where she said, don't accept an offer to go to Harvey Weinstein's hotel room. It was common knowledge amongst many in Hollywood, yet now we have these reams and reams of pictures of Oprah Winfrey hanging out with her best friend, Harvey Weinstein, years after these revelations were known inside Hollywood. We have her reportedly calling Harvey Weinstein immediately after everything broke back a few months ago about him being a serial sexual predator. And now Juanita Broderick, Bill Clinton's rape victim, is coming out and saying to Oprah, it's funny how I never heard you mention my name. We'll get to that on the other side. This is the Alex Jones Show live, Infowars.com. Don't go away. We're live. It is the 4th hour of the Alex Jones Show. We got War Room coming up in a little while, but I wanted to get into this article up on Vice.com. Remember when Vice was quite a fresh, edgy news network? They actually produced interesting, intriguing documentaries. They went where other news crews refused to go. Well, now they're just a source of unremittent cancer. The headline is, why alt-right vloggers are in Scotland to defend a Nazi dog. Now, you remember the story, and in fact, this emerged again. It cropped up on Friday because they had a hearing, or at least we thought the decision was coming down in the court case of Mark Meechan, who you remember put up a funny YouTube video where he taught his dog to do Sieg Heils, basically to make fun of his girlfriend, who thought the dog was, you know, too cute. He thought he would troll his girlfriend by making it do Sieg Heils. It was hilarious. It was John Cleese level humor. But no, we can't have humor anymore in the United Kingdom. Literally, they're trying to say that making fun of Nazis is a hate crime. That's basically what they're trying to do in Scotland right now. So Vice.com decided to write an article about this, basically siding with the state that literally wants to lock up a guy for making his dog do some funny tricks. Okay, that's how far Vice has sunk in the past, what, 5-6 years since it began. The headline, why alt-right vlog? Like, he's not alt-right. This article gets into how, oh, these people generalize, they oversimplify. You do it in your frigging headline. Alt-right. This guy is not alt-right, clearly. Not everybody who disagrees with you is alt-right, okay? Not everyone right of Chairman Mao is alt-right. So it says in 2016, originally the headline said last year, because this guy doesn't even know what year it is, a Scottish man taught his dog to Sieg Heil to speeches of Hitler. The story only gets weirder from there, by Joe Bish, the trendy Vice.com journalist. So they go on to say the furor has been covered by all your favorite white right-wing media guys, Alex Jones, Paul Joseph Watson, and even Canadian far-right real doll, Lauren Southern. Now, this piqued my interest because real doll is another term, an industry term, a brand name for a sex robot. In the rest of this article, this guy rails against Mark Meechan, otherwise known as Count Dankula, for being, quote, anti-feminist, okay? So he's bad because he's anti-feminist, he's a misogynist, he's a sexist. While in the same article, this Joe Bish, this Vice journalist, calls a woman a real doll, calls a woman a sex robot. So he's basically referring to a woman as a sex toy while bashing Meechan for being a misogynist. Yeah, how does that work, Joe Bish? I think we know who the real misogynist is. You're literally comparing a woman to a sex object and then lecturing us about how we're the misogynists. Oh, and by the way, Vice has a rampant sexual harassment problem within its own offices. Maybe you should deal with that before lecturing other people. Vice apologizes for boys' club culture after allegations of sexual harassment. Vice magazine has apologized for a boys' club culture after it emerged that allegations of sexual harassment at the company led to 4 settlements. So they're having to pay out money to all these women who were harassed within Vice's offices. They hire guys like Sam Chris, the male feminist, who turns out is another accused sexual harasser of women, like all these left-wing male feminists turn out to be. And in this article, he's literally referring to a woman as a sex toy while lecturing me, while lecturing Mark Meechan about how we're anti-feminist. Oh, yeah, you're the big feminist, aren't you? Whatever your hell your name is, Sam Bish. Joe Bish. He's obviously been taught feminism by Sam Chris, his best friend. So he's talking about us being misogynist, anti-feminist, while literally referring to a woman as a sex toy. That's the left. That's Vice.com. That's cancer. Absolutely incredible. You know, it's this thing again. They reserve the most vitriolic, misogynistic, sexist hatred against women who are conservatives. Sarah Palin, Ann Coulter, women like that. As long as they're conservatives, you can say whatever the hell you like about them. Oh, but you're the male feminists. Absolutely incredible double standard exposed yet again with the unremittent cancer that is Vice Media. Let's get into some of these other headlines right now. Virgin Trains stopped selling Daily Mail, concern over editorial position on immigration. This came out in the UK today. Virgin Trains has stopped selling the Daily Mail because it disagrees with its editorial line on immigration, LGBT rights and unemployment. Right, so Virgin Trains now going to refuse custom from people based on their political views. This is the whole thing once again. It's this purity test. We saw it again in the United Kingdom with Toby Young, who they hired to be on some government education board. Oh, but they dug up a tweet from 2009 in which he talks about a woman's breasts. So he failed the witch hunt mob's ideological purity test because he talked about a woman's breasts 8 years ago. He must be sacrificed. He must be crucified. His career must be burned at the stake. Is it really because you're offended about the fact he talked about a woman's breasts 8, 9 years ago, given that all these male feminists turn out to be the biggest sexual abusers of women imaginable? Or is it because of his political beliefs, which you disagree with, so you use the power of the mob to publicly shame him and burn his career at the stake every single time? Now, he apologized eventually. At first, it looked like he wasn't going to apologize and back down, but he backed down. Again, don't apologize. You're giving them power by apologizing in the first place. Don't do it. Tell them where to stick it immediately, and they'll back down. That's what's happening in the United Kingdom. We have Beyonce's veganism promotes discrimination, professors warn. Again, 2 professors out of the United Kingdom, University of London, recently warned that Beyonce's veganism reproduces existing patterns of discrimination and equality. So now you can't even be vegan. That's not woke enough for these people. In an article in a recent issue of Feminist Media Studies, they argued that Beyonce's adoption of the 22 Days Vegan Challenge perpetuates inequality because it's actually post-feminist dietary practice. If that sounds like gobbledygook to you, that's because it is. They make the argument that the empowerment of the individual is worrisome to some feminist scholars since it shifts the onus of self-improvement onto the individual and away from society. So again, it all comes back to this rampant hatred of the individual. You can't even have your own dietary choices in the interests of self-empowerment now, because that's not, giving your debt to society in this collectivist, socialist, phony utopia mindset. This is the insanity coming out of universities. These people are teaching your kids. Daily Caller reports Google's new fact-check feature almost exclusively targets conservative sites. Imagine my shock. Google, the most powerful search engine in the world, is now displaying fact checks for conservative publications in its results. So you search for the Daily Caller or whoever, gives you the website, but then it gives you, this series of reviewed claims, which their impartial, independent fact checkers have determined to be fake news. Oh, you mean like Snopes, who, of course, are known for inventing fake quotes and then claiming that, I'll give you an example. A WikiLeaks email came out during the election where an individual gave a quote. I wrote an article about it. Snopes came back and said, no, he didn't really mean to say that. This is what he meant to say. Completely created a new quote. They're not independent. They've been debunked over and over again as a hyper-partisan outfit, and now these people are fact-checking us on Google. Absolutely insane. War Room is coming up. Breaking news at Infowars.com. Don't go away.
This program contains language and sequences some viewers may find disturbing.
The nation and all of our freedoms hang by a thread, and the military apparatus of this country is about to be handed over to scum who are beholden to scum, Russian scum.
Listen, please listen. If you don't, if you won't, if you fail to understand, then the same incredible terror that's menacing me will strike at you!
The function of all life is survival. Sleep. Sleep. Sleep.
Oh my God! Oh my God! Lock the door! Lock the door! They're coming! They're coming! Help! Help! They're coming! They're coming! Listen to me! Listen! Help me! You're next, please! Please! You're next! We're in danger! Please, listen to me! Something terrible! Please! You're next! Here they are! They're already here! Come! You're next! They're coming! They're coming!
Sleep. The seed is planted. Sleep. Sleep. Terror grows.
Elizabeth, wake up! Get you when you sleep! Sit up!
Invasion of the body snatchers.
All of a sudden, they're growing like parasites. Is it contagious?
Trump, free all the homies.
It looked right at me. You need to get out.
You're looking at it as if it was human. It was not human. Now, the classic fear begins to grow.
We're being cornered.
In a modern masterpiece of science fiction.
They're barricading the street.
Invasion of the Body Snatchers.
Land of the Walking Dead!
If you are receiving this transmission, you are the Resistance. It's Alex Jones.
I'm so excited. The new product at InfoWarsLife.com in a glass bottle, 2-month servings, filled to the brim, filled to the absolute top, the real red pill. This is a heart and brain pill, a nootropic that doesn't have any stimulants in it. But boy, does it stimulate, because it's beyond that. Quite frankly, I just went off what I saw medical doctors prescribing to their patients, but it wasn't prescription, but they were charging people $100, $200 for the formulae. And I came up with our own formula, working with some scientists and developers, non-GMO, made right here in America, 120 capsules. And ladies and gentlemen, you add the pregnenolone to it, which is the precursor to all the hormones that your body has to have to even make the hormones in your glands. It is amazing. Red pill, now available at InfoWarsStore.com, and your purchase funds the operation.